everybody? What's happening? What's shaking? What's doing? Welcome to episode 147 of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. The date today is Monday, March the 28th, 2022, 6:12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name's Dave McRae, coming to you live from the VoiceMann Studios in Toronto, Canada. He's Tony Michael in Atlanta, Georgia. And tonight, we are discussing Rachel and Jamie returning to Halloween, a direct sequel to Halloween 4. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live! We are live! Yes, where are you in the world? Who cares? We're here and we're doing this. We are discussing tonight Halloween 4, the return of Michael Myers, pretending that there is no Halloween 5, there is no Halloween 6, there is no Halloween H2O, there is no Halloween Resurrection, there is no Rob Zombies, Halloween 1 and 2, even though not connected. There is no Halloween 18, there is no Halloween Kills, there is no Halloween Ends.
In other words, we're trying to pitch an idea to properly correct the timeline the way it should have been done originally.
Well, maybe, yeah.
Picking up from where 4 ended would have been the most logical sense and go from there.
So here's the thing. So before we jump into it, let me just say this, that I do not think that this is a viable, I mean, you never say never. But I do not believe this is what they will do or they have any interest in doing. In terms of after Halloween Ends is over, all of a sudden saying, hey, you know what? We're going to go back, right? And we're going to, it's true, but I don't think they're going to play hard and fast with the franchise that way. I think
who has
it is
the rights to Halloween.
Malika Cod.
After Blum,
Trancas International.
Let me rephrase that question. Who has the rights after Blum completes his trilogy here?
Well, it sticks with Trancas International and Malika Cod. That's who has it.
Guess the only way this could work is if you pitch the idea to a COD and he says, yeah, sure, let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, again, you never say never, but I just, from a business perspective, I don't think they're going to go that route. I think the rights I think they're going to continue with Halloween, but I don't think they're going to continue with Michael Myers. I think they're going to give Michael Myers a break. I think they're going to give Halloween a break. And I think they may, as I've always said, I think the logical choice is to explore Season of the Witch. It already has a built-in fan base. It doesn't mean you agree with it. I mean people out there. It doesn't mean you agree with it, but certainly I think that's what they're likely going to do. Just going back and doing, now we're going to do Halloween 4 or a direct sequel to Halloween 4. I don't know. It again, you never say never, but it just doesn't make sense to me to do that. I don't think they're going to play hard and fast with the franchise like that. As much as many fans would like. However, that doesn't mean that what Tony and I are going to be talking about today, because we have some ideas that I think would make a really cool story. Like it would actually, I think, be really interesting to watch, full of fan service, of course. But I think there's merit to at least this now. And like I said, you never say never. 5-10 years down the road, maybe that's what they do. But as the fan base gets older and as the series gets older, they're less likely to go and revisit older installments and do direct sequels to them. They're more likely to just reboot it for a new generation.
And the actors too.
That's right.
Actors are getting older too.
That's right. So it's even if it was 5 or 10 years from now, Danielle Harris would be well into her 50s. Not that that's it's fine. I mean, it's perfectly fine. I'm just saying that, again, to Tony's point, people are getting older. The target demographic for horror movies is, teenagers, 20-something, things like that. You got to think about it from that perspective. As much as your fans' heart would like to see all this, there's reasons why studios make decisions that most of the time don't align with your, fan desires, is because they're not looking at it from the same perspective, generally speaking. So I don't think it's likely we'll see it, but you never know.
Yeah, that's why I said it would have to be, again, someone pitching the idea to a COD to say, well, you've done the Jamie Lee Curtis reboot, whatever, second timeline. Why don't we, pick up, from where Danielle Harris's character, Halloween 4 and launch from there and use that as a launching pad.
You never know.
I think you're right. But again, if if I'm saying now, if I'm pitching an idea, if a COD is sitting down like, okay, what can we do to just squeeze out a little bit more money? Well, this would be probably aside from going the season of the witch route. I'm saying like to bring Michael into the equation. This, when you look at the franchise as a whole, this is probably your safe play, and where you would at least get a fan interest, like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing. No, it's totally would be a cash grab, but
for sure, but it's
your only option.
It's a solid point, and I think if Halloween Ends, unfortunately, and I say unfortunately because, and I know you're sort of in the same boat, we're kind of hoping that this Halloween Ends is it. Unfortunately, if it does really well, I mean, let's just say for whatever reason it's a huge success, they're more likely to continue that story.
They're doing another Scream, and after watching it with you, I was like, I didn't think it really. I watched it again. I still enjoyed it. I still liked it, and
it's fine. It's a Scream movie.
I don't think it warranted a sequel. You know what I mean? Like,
and Nev Campbell supposedly, no, not Nev Campbell. Well, she might be coming back, but I think Courtney Cox has already been confirmed. And I'm like,
confirmed. It's just like, okay. It's like, all right. Like, what are we going to do? What a trilogy here where each legacy character dies off?
I was just going to say, it's going to be like the Star Wars sequel trilogy where in each movie, a legacy character dies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So it's like,
and Sydney will be the last one to go.
It made money, apparently it made enough money for them to want to do it. So yeah, you're right. The two options they would have technically, I shouldn't say the Danielle Harris timeline is the only one. If they were sitting there going, what do we do? Halloween Ends made, a decent amount. It's not going to, well, depending on how they promote it. If they promote it as this is the final Michael Myers Halloween
they will.
ever, and they will, of course they will, which will draw people to the audience.
Because that gets people going, oh, really?
Right.
They get in there.
Just like, Motley Crue doing their final tour that I went to see them on, and here we are. They're about to kick off their next tour.
Their final tour was like 30 years ago. No.
Exactly. So to your point, you're right.
It's like Tom Brady.
It's a boatload of money. They're going to be, Tom Brady, retire, unretire. But to your point, I agree with you. I think if Ends makes a boatload of money, the secondary option would be to, I don't know. I'm guessing here that Andi Matichak will be the final girl in this. I'm hoping she is. I believe I believe the passing of the torch should go to her. I will be very angry if Jamie Lee Curtis is standing at the end and Andi Matichak is dead. But the character, Allison. If her character dies and Laurie's surviving, I want to see it. I want to see that passing of the torch moment. And,
I understand.
Hopefully. And so then that would be the other, you just continue with Allison's story, and but you're going there.
The reason why, endings are so important is, and I know you know this, of course, but, for our viewers, if, I've been saying on my channel for many years now, and if you follow me for any length of time, you know this, that the more sequels you make, it is inevitable. It's not maybe, it is inevitable that if you continue to make sequels, and they will, because this is a business, it's show business. If something continues to make money, they will continue to make sequels. As soon as it stops making money, it stops. It's like a restaurant, right? As soon as a burger doesn't sell, you don't see the burger on the menu anymore. It's that simple. So the thing is that it's inevitable that the more sequels they make, there will be that time. There will be that movie when they've jumped the shark. It always happens, especially in slasher films. And it's like, oh, well, here we are. Now we're back to where we started. And the crazy thing is that Halloween Kills was so divisive that some people think it's already happened. Oh my God. I mean, Halloween 18, I didn't think it was great, but it certainly was fine. Okay, it is what it is. It's, I would have done this or whatever. But Halloween Kills has been very divisive, and that's only the second one in. So what is Ends going to be like? Hopefully Ends will please fans more. It doesn't have to be great. It just has to respect the legacy and the franchise and have a completed ending too.
As you just described that, the first two in this trilogy here, it's a very parallel to the Star Wars run. Everyone was kind of like with the Force Awakens, like, oh, nostalgia, it's great, and that's pretty much universally has been for Halloween 2018, even though I'm not the biggest fan of it. However, I do appreciate it more now that Halloween Kills is out and the two are connected together.
Halloween 18 is a far better film.
Right. I know you like it. I didn't like it as much. I like Kills better, but it's kind of like what was Ryan Johnson's middle one?
The Last Jedi.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So it's like The Last Jedi. It was split. You know, like Halloween
Yes.
Kills is split. You know,
it's
a very parallel like.
But
thing
usually you don't see that real stinker of a film. And I'm not saying that Kills is a stinker. It depends on who you ask. But usually you don't see the real divisive one until like the fourth or fifth one in.
Sure.
And
not
so
the second one.
Right. So it makes me a bit worried. But anyway, the overall point I'm trying to make is that you know, I'm hoping Ends is the final one, and because I think all good stories should have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and I don't think there's anything wrong with things ending. I mean, that's the artist in me. That is the fan in me. I do hope it ends. But it all depends on what happens at the box office. But I don't want to see an 80-year-old Michael Myers running around. But I do think there is intention. There's something about the pulse. There's something about the pulse that's going on. I do think there is an intention here to end this story connected to the 78 film as we know. So anyway, we digress. Halloween 4, right? We've often said that Halloween 4 is a good, because I've always said that although Halloween 4, in my opinion, is not nearly obviously as good as the original or even part 2 or, what have you, it's the last in the franchise, in the original run, okay, it was the last good sequel. I think it's better than, I enjoy watching it. Obviously 5 is so 4 was fine as the way it was. 5 is the catalyst that destroyed the franchise from a franchise perspective. Because people could say, no, it was 6. No, it was Resurrection. No. The reason why you have 6 is because of 5. The reason why they had to reboot and do H2O was because 5 did 6. And the reason why they have Resurrection is because of H2O, and H2O wouldn't exist if 5. So you can, follow the breadcrumbs all the way back to this installment that was incompetently made, that made absolutely no sense at all, and had this subplot thrown in there that they had no direction where it was going, and they were going to leave it up to Joe Chappelle to figure it all out with part 6. So that's why I often say the catalyst that destroyed the franchise, it was going to be destroyed anyway. I mean, it's not like you're going to get, 5 is going to be great, and 6 is going to be great, and 7 is going to be great, and 8 is going to be great, and 9 is going to be great. I mean, it was eventually going to fall off the rails anyway. So I guess you could kind of look at it from that perspective. But 5 is the one that did it. But 4 is not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. And it's got one of the greatest endings of all time. Now, I don't know where you go from there with that, but we'll discuss this. But certainly it's an iconic ending that really actually that should have been the end of it all. As I've often said, that seeing her at the top of the stairs, Loomis about to shoot her, Meeker comes in, saves the day. That should have been it completed, because it's been full circle. You got the little girl in the clown costume at the top of the stairs. Loomis says, no, because it's full circle, right? Evil has won. Ends cut to black. It's like, and have never made another movie. And imagine if they didn't. Imagine if they never made another movie. And this is a good catalyst for what we're talking about here. Imagine if they never made another film. So there was no 5 and 6 and H2O and Resurrection, and Rob Zombies and 18 kills and ends. It never happened, right? Pretend that never happened. And then you fast forward 30 years in the future, and the last thing you remember is Jamie Lloyd standing at the top of the stairs in the clown costume holding scissors. Loomis, no! I would have loved to see him blow her away. But anyway, hey, Meeker, comes in, all that kind of shit. That's the last thing you remember. And then you find out they're doing a direct sequel to that film. Tony and I have discussed this, haven't we, Tony?
We have.
So what are your thoughts on this?
The thing with Halloween 5, let me piggyback off your Halloween 5 there for a moment.
Yeah, for sure.
The thing with Halloween 5 is this. Some minor tweaks to that movie would change it night and day, and it would make it a better movie. The one obvious is Rachel should have been the one sacrificing herself to save Jamie. I've said that repeatedly. They threw a character at us that they were trying to say that this is now the new big sister to Jamie and Tina's character. And throughout this whole movie, Tina could care to, give two shits about Jamie. Not in a negative way, but, she, typical teenage girl focused on her boyfriend, want to go party. And I get it. I will never understand the decision on that. I'm fine. I've said this many times. Rachel dying off is not my problem. It's that after everything they went through in Halloween 4, that moment in the field should have been Rachel stopping Michael. That should not have been Tina.
Rachel should have made it to the end.
Or to the end. However, in the house, you know what I mean? In the house, you know, whatever. She saves him. She saves Jamie, whatever. In fact, when you think about the chase scene and everything that was happening in the house, adding Rachel into that amplifies that scene even more. You know what I mean? Could you see them both going down the chute together and all that stuff?
It's great.
Like that'd been fucking like kind of a, you know, like Jamie hang on to my back, pulling from the rooftop scene. So that's one fix right there. The Man in Black, get him out of there. Like no, like he just doesn't even exist. If more of Michael's scenes were shot at night, like the way he should have been, I think the tone of Halloween 5 changes dramatically. It doesn't make it a great sequel, but when you fix those two elements, because like the number one complaint is Michael in the daylight fucking walking around, you know, and all, you know, the shots that we're all talking about when he's in front of the hospital, or when he's at the Carruthers house, or, you know, when he's in the car driving. Like there's just certain scenes that the director didn't utilize Michael properly, that had they used him properly and just made some tweaks to certain scenes, it would be a I'm coughing as I say this, better sequel, but not a great sequel. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, changing a bad movie to make it better always makes it better.
And what I'm saying is it's not a drastic change. We're talking about you don't need a Man in Black because you don't want to take anything away from who the villain is in the story, which is Michael. Rachel makes it to the end. I think some of the kills were pretty solid in Halloween 5. You know, Spitz and Sammy, that's a decent kill in the barn. The dorky cops, I wouldn't have made them. I definitely would not have had the sound of design in there of the comedy stuff that they had. It obviously that should not ever be in a Halloween movie. I don't mind that they have a little bit of quirkiness to them. That I'm not I'm okay with it, but just not so far over. That's all. I would have really capitalized more on the barn party. I felt like that was a really good idea, but also missed opportunity. Could you imagine kind of like Freddie having his moment in the pool there? Could you imagine if Michael just kind of went on a tear, you know, offing some kids in that house?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's a lot of things that there's
ideas there.
Of course,
that,
of course.
If they had fleshed it out more, like Halloween 5 could have been saved and turned into a really good movie. And the other big thing is not making Jamie a mute. And I know the only reason they did that is because they went into production with half a script done, and they basically took the lazy approach and not giving Danielle Harris any lines. So like, oh, we're just going to make her a mute. And I take nothing away from Danielle Harris. She did a fine job with what she was given as an actress, and I have no complaints, but we know now it was fucking laziness. Right.
Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents on 5. Now with 4, if you were to say, okay, you know, we're going to pull a retcon here again with the timeline.
Well, here's what you do. You said it because it's 30 years later now, right? So we're going to jump 30 years later. So Halloween 4 was 1988. So this is going to be 2018, but we can set it 35 years later. You can make it 40 years later, you know, whatever it is. And I think, you know, the story should be, what I would do, and we sort of talked about this, is make it a very small film. A very small film. So small in scale, small in locations.
Like Halloween 1.
Yeah, 100%. And you fast forward 40 years in the future, and we find Jamie Lloyd now in, say, her early 50s or, you know, what have you.
40s.
10, 20, 30, 40. That's right. I guess she'd be, yeah, that's right. Her early 40s. If she was 12, right? So 10, 20, 30. No, she'd be early 50s if she was 40 years later. It'd be early 50s. Because if she was like 12, right? 12 plus 40 is, Wait.
Yeah, she's
10,
so
20,
40s.
30, 40. Yeah. Or,
If you're going 30 years, she'd be in her 40s.
30 years. Yeah. But if you go 40 years, I said.
Oh, I'm sorry. If you go 40 years,
yeah, she'd be in her 50s. Yeah. 50s. But whatever, right? So she's in her late 40s, early 50s, let's say, or, what have you. And because she is in her late 40s anyway, so, or she's 45 or, whatever she is. But anyway, so.
She's older.
Yeah. She's an old bag. So anyway, relax, folks.
Careful.
I'm joking. Calm down.
Don't you and Danielle have some heated tension?
Calm down. Just relax, ladies and gentlemen. It's just a joke. Don't come and slap me. Okay, so is it too soon?
To get off
No, hang on.
Not to get off topic.
Is it too soon?
But I had no idea. I had no fucking clue that happened until you posted your video.
I know.
Like, I'm so out of touch with everything that I don't know what's going on. And then I saw you post the video. I'm like, what?
There's a video. You can go watch it, folks. What? Okay, so
anyways.
So 35, 40 years in the future. And Jamie Lloyd is she lives alone. And I think she lives not in Haddonfield. Because why would you live?
Hospital.
We had her in the hospital?
Yeah.
I thought she lived.
She was finally let out after attacking her mom and Rachel, who stuck by her side the whole time. And Jamie had a hard time accepting that because of the guilt she felt for what she did to.
Oh, that's right. So she spent. But I don't think she would have spent that many years in a ward like that, unless there was, maybe, who knows? So she is let out. She is let out to go and live with Rachel, I think it is, right?
Yeah.
And Rachel.
So you're basically opening up with Rachel driving to, it could be Smith Groves, it could be whatever.
Right. That's right. I remember now. That's right.
And
I don't think it should be Smith Grove.
Yeah,
it should be
not Smith. That's right. I'm just throwing a name out.
Yeah, that's right.
Of the place of where Jamie's been at. And Jamie's reluctant. Jamie, she's
institutionalized now.
Yeah, she's institutionalized. She's reluctant. She feels this tremendous guilt.
Yeah.
Tremendous. You know
Tremendous.
what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Thank you. Someone's gonna comment, Tony's fucking grammar sucks.
No. Yeah. Your fucking face sucks. How about that?
Right. And so Rachel's on her way to get her, and they have this back and forth conversation. Like, whatever. Jamie doesn't want to go. She doesn't feel like Rachel's forgiven her. Rachel wants her to move on, but Jamie hasn't let it go until they finally get her out, and they go back home. They go to Haddonfield.
Right.
That's how we began it.
Okay. All right. So Rachel obviously would be older, so Rachel would definitely be in her 50s. I think she would. Yes. I would play it because I would want Rachel. I would want this story we really want the story to be about Rachel and Jamie, the relationship. So I would, if it was me, and I don't know if the studio would like this, but I would have Rachel either divorced and her children grown up, which you could have that in your 50s, right? And I think
they'd be adults for sure.
Right, exactly. And Rachel is divorced, so we get rid of the husband, or the husband passed away, or whatever it is. But she lives alone, and maybe she's got a couple of dogs or whatever, or what have you. And she lives in this little home. I don't imagine it like this big home, not even the size of the home that she lived in Halloween 4. I picture just kind of like just a modest size suburban. Not an old wartime home, a bit bigger than that, but, just a regular kind of 80s home or something, right? And that's where she lives. Maybe she's a nurse. Maybe she's a social worker. Maybe she's
just, a little town worker. She never recuperated or
she could be one of the, right. But she could be, I don't want to play too much. Like, I don't want it to play too much into the trauma, but to be fair, she could be a nurse in that town. She could be a social worker in that town. Something she does, I think, is
librarian.
Yeah, maybe something she does that is very much. Maybe there's a job that she has that is able to give her insight and leeway into her sister. Right. So that's what I mean. Like, she's a social worker or she's a nurse or something like that, where she's on the up and up of with her sister. But that's neither here nor there. You can work out the details later. And she picks up a reluctant Jamie who's now in her mid 40s. Right. And of course, the whole the whole idea here is based on the fact that you would bring back Ellie Cornell and Danielle Harris. So yes, you can always recast, of course, 100%, character comes first, but obviously for the nostalgia and for the feeling, it makes it that much better when to have people, because they look like them, right? And they are them. So you get caught up in that, like, wow, that really is them. So so that's important. And eventually Jamie is signed out. She reluctantly goes with her sister, but she's been institutionalized for like 30 years and 35 years, whatever. And she's she hasn't, it's not that she hasn't, but she hasn't been out. So there's a learning curve for her. So she's nervous about being out. And maybe we could play it in a way too, Tony, where, she's better, but she's still sick. Do you know what I mean? So she's on medication. She needs to take her medication, right? She can get triggered over certain things that bring back memories, right? There is a trauma there naturally, right? Obviously.
Or I was just going to say, what you could do is you can have these flashbacks of that moment in the bathroom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe she sees a pair of scissors and it
happening. Well, or not even that. It could be just at random moments. Maybe they're standing in a checkout line somewhere in a grocery store. Yeah. And she has like a moment, where she freaks out. Yeah. Whatever. Maybe, she, her and Rachel are in like a little, grocery store type setting. They're getting some things and they're in the checkout line and kids are dressed up in Halloween costume. And you see a little girl dressed in the clown costume.
Right,
and
right.
It triggers a memory for Jamie.
Right. Yeah. That's cool. I like that. Yes. So things like that, right? And that's all like, this is all first act stuff, right? Because your first act is you're setting the stage.
Setting the
right?
stage.
So this is all first act stuff. So, depending on how long the movie is, that could be the first 20 minutes of the movie, depending if it's like a 90-minute movie or, what have you. Depends, right? But anyway, so all that stuff. Yes. She has that. She's, going through this stuff. And it's all about like the story. It's not a complicated story. I mean, really, the crux of the story is Rachel gets Jamie because Jamie is free to go with her. Rachel is Jamie's legal guardian. I say that in air quotes because obviously Jamie is an adult, but she's not well enough to be really kind of living on her own or taking care of herself. So she has her sister, her big sister there to take care of her and all that kind of stuff. And so she goes with her and it's really about their relationship and the adjustment that is now happening and how Rachel helps Jamie through this adjustment period process, and then shit hits the fan again, right? I mean, that really is what it is.
And I kind of agree with you on the PTSD and I wouldn't. We've seen that twice with Jamie Lee Curtis's character. Once in H2O, obviously a different portrayal of it, and then we've seen it here in this new timeline. So you don't want to recycle that too much with Rachel and Jamie. I think you've got to tread carefully with how much of, because remember Halloween 5 didn't happen. So they've only gone through that one night.
Correct.
Now that's not to say that one night, didn't leave an impact. Obviously it did. It left an impact to a point where Jamie attacked, she didn't kill, because you don't want to kill off Mrs. Carruthers, Rachel's mom, because that might make it a little bit harder for Jamie to get. Well, then again, she was a kid. So.
Oh, she was 12. Well, I think if her mother died, that actually might help the case. It might help the case I think it would help the case for her to be there for 30 years because, we have to keep in mind too, would this child be there for 30 years? That's why I said that I think my go-to was
Maybe
we were opening that she's already out, right? But she spent like 10 years there or something, right? But we're introduced to her already out and she's living on her own and, she's who she is, but she's kind of that Halloween girl, the crazy Halloween kid that killed, even though she's 45 years old. We're introduced to her, sort of being reintroduced to her as a 45-year-old woman so many years later. And we discover through that process in the first act and things like that, wow, she actually spent like 10 years there, right? And maybe there was like an issue. Do we keep her here? Do we not? And maybe Rachel fought to have her released or something to that degree too, because that's another, like you could go that way as well.
I like that actually, now that you're talking about it. Maybe there's an opening scene before Rachel goes to pick her up. Maybe there's like a meeting between her and the psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist is, his or her, depending on who you cast in the part, is very adamant about keeping Jamie behind, keeping Jamie in the hospital.
Right.
Rachel feels that no, she wants her out.
Right.
That she's not like her uncle. She's not this monster.
Well, Rachel could be her official rep.
She was a young kid who, went through this, crazy experience on a Halloween night.
Yeah.
That could affect anyone at any
for sure,
moment.
especially at that age.
At that age, very impressionable.
Maybe what keeps her there is she has violent outbursts while she's there, you see. So in the early days of her being institutionalized,
not like to like the silence of Michael,
true,
but just more shut down,
perhaps, but I think like maybe in the early days of her being there, she attacked a nurse, right? Or she stabbed a nurse, or a doctor or something like that. It didn't kill them or whatever. We don't need to see that. We can just read about it or, we hear about it. I'm not saying that she's losing all control, but that might justify, and maybe that's when she sort of falls a bit silent perhaps. But Rachel could also be her official rep too, right? Maybe Rachel is the social worker, like I said, and she's got other people, of course, but her sister is really taking her time. Maybe Rachel gets fired from her job because all her focus is on Jamie, and now it's kind of like, fuck, what the hell, that could, it's like, Rachel, we know we love your sister.
If not her rep, then she would just be the only connection she has. She's the only family.
She's still the only connection she has. Yeah, regardless, she's still the only
family that Jamie has. And Rachel feels that she should be out. She shouldn't be, locked up like that. She's not her uncle. And
correct. That's why I really want the solitude there. So that's why it's like Rachel might have gone off, got married. That's believable. Had a couple of kids, but because she's in her 50s now, the kids are grown and gone. Her husband maybe is divorced. All that kind of stuff. It really sort of isolates the two together, and then you can focus on the two of them.
What do you think about the idea of Rachel not getting married? Because she really devoted her life to being there for Jamie and just missed out on opportunities. There's an option there that you could do in the storytelling that if you wanted to go down that road, because you could play off a lot with that and Jamie even feels this sense of like everything is my fault. Like remember in Halloween 4. When Rachel is talking to the parents and she's like, I can't babysit tonight. I'm going out. I got that date with Brady. And Jamie's like, if I wasn't here, you could go out on your date, because Jamie feels like she's just this big imposition in Rachel's life. Yeah. You could sort of play on that again.
For sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? If Rachel never got married, Jamie could still feel this sense of like, I've ruined your life. But where Rachel doesn't see it that way, Rachel feels like I'm with you to the end. What we went through that together that night, there's nothing's going to separate this.
You could play it that way. For sure you could. Yeah, you could. I don't know if you could. I'm just trying to think, is it believable that she would just give up her whole life to do this? I think it maybe.
If you're playing off the idea that Jamie does kill the mom, so now Rachel's lost her mom, she only has her father. Mm-hmm. Obviously Jamie's taken away. She's going into whatever hospital, and Jamie has no one but Rachel, in essence. Maybe even the father wanted nothing to do with Jamie after what happened because it's his wife. You know what I mean? Yep. You could throw a little bit in there. So much.
Well, maybe there was a period of time where Rachel didn't want to have anything to do with Jamie. I mean, that's entirely possible as well.
That might be a dangerous road to go down because the fans, I don't know how the fans would react.
Well, I don't mean that. No, but I mean that you see, this is all stuff that you don't necessarily have to show, but because keep in mind there's a 30-year gap, right? So we discover through this process, because we don't know what's happened in that 30 years. So we're being reintroduced to these characters 30 years later. It's like what we did with Billy, right? Where, we have Sam on the porch saying, I really got to start taking care of myself, Emma. I don't want to end up like, her. And she's like, you're not like her. You're like your grandma, you're strong. And, so when we listen, we're hearing these, wow, there's a lot of shit that happened there. Her mom clearly was an alcoholic, didn't get along with her grandmother and all that kind of stuff. And, and that might rub some Black Christmas fans the wrong way, but hey, it's life. Shit happens, right? And when you go through something traumatic, traumatic, those things can happen. It can sort of snowball down to the next kid. And so, maybe we discover that immediately because we don't know what happens. It's just no, and then cuts to black. What the hell happened? Like, what happened in that moment, that night? Like, and in the and then in the next month, and the next year, and the next 2 years. I don't mean that Rachel hates Jamie, but she's young too. She's 17? She's going through one of the most difficult times in her life in general, right? So maybe there was a period there, and she already had a kind of thing about her sister, right? Not too long prior to that. They've been through a lot, but I think that's what brings them back together. I think it's not unprecedented to assume that maybe in a few years, in maybe the first year or the first year or two, maybe Rachel went off to college and didn't speak to Jamie for a while, but then something happens that brings them back together in terms of maybe she goes off, she becomes a social worker, and then maybe she by sheer coincidence, she ends up becoming her sister's social worker. Now, you figure out how that becomes, relevant and believable and all that kind of stuff. But it's almost like Rachel, and again, we're not necessarily seeing that part, but we discover that this has happened, right? We discover that, wow, there was a few years there where maybe she was pissed. She was upset. I think that's believable. I do, especially at the age of her, because it's not her daughter, right? It's her foster sister. And so I think there might be a little bit of resentment there if her mother is killed, at first, right? But not forever. Because ultimately it's the bond and the shit that they went through in the later half of Halloween 4 that is the strongest and that brings them back together for this installment. Those are all things that I think might be interesting to explore when you're developing the characters and trying to make them three-dimensional. It's interesting stuff to me to explore. But for sure that Rachel and Jamie definitely, we agree that, okay, so wait, I had said that, yeah, because we have to figure out whether it's believable that she would be there for 30 years. And I think it would be if there, like, as you pointed out, if there was reason to keep her there for 30 years. So there'd have to be something in the behavior that keeps her there. Like you said, she shuts down completely and she's catatonic. I think that's how you say that.
Not so much catatonic, but just more introverted, quiet.
Introverted and quiet, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Would that keep her there? Because I almost feel like they would set her up with another foster home eventually. If she was good behaved kid, just quiet, went through a lot of things, had psychological assessments, they would probably try to place her in another foster home. Geez, maybe they did. I mean, geez, that's something you could explore too. That's kind of weird, right?
Or you open it up where you're right into it, and maybe Rachel and Jamie live together. They're already there. You're skipping the whole institutional thing, and she's out, and they're already living together as roommates or whatnot in Rachel's house. And
could do that.
Jamie is just this average town girl.
See, this
who, works at a bookstore.
100%.
Nothing like crazy, but just a very simple, quiet woman, because she'd be a woman at this point. And when she's walking around, like when she leaves her job, she always thinks that people are looking at her because of what she did, so many years ago. You're
talking about Jamie, right?
There's Jamie. There she is, where Rachel's trying to get Jamie to look past that she's not Michael. She's not her uncle.
Right.
I think it's too on the nose to make her Jamie's psychiatrist. I just think
not psychiatrist. I was talking about like a social worker. Like she works in the system, right?
I would almost even have Rachel as like, I don't even know, just like I don't know, a bartender in town or just something simple that absolutely they're townies, basically.
You absolutely could. And that goes back to my original thought when I first started talking, which was we open and it's 30 years later, and I was going to have like, maybe they don't live together. Maybe Jamie does live on her own, and maybe she does live in Haddonfield and she lives on her own, and she's been on her own for some time, right? She can't hold a relationship. She's too neurotic. I mean, it's not her, and she knows that. But like you pointed out, which is she has a little job at the library or at the coffee shop or somewhere where it's just very simple job. She gets, there's the Halloween girl, there's the Halloween lady or whatever.
But that's in her head. Maybe it's not something that really does happen. It's in her head.
Maybe
she
not.
Thinks.
Maybe
That's
not.
what people think of her.
And I think maybe Rachel doesn't live in Haddonfield anymore, but Rachel is coming to see her. Maybe Rachel's coming to visit her. Maybe Rachel does this once a year, right? She does this once a year. Maybe she comes once a year in and around Halloween time because she knows that Halloween time is a difficult time of year for her, right? Perhaps. You don't have to do it that way, but that's an option as well. So there really is, you really play into the isolation of it.
I like the house idea that you set for Rachel in town, and I can almost see them sharing a little house like that. Now, whether or not Rachel, maybe Rachel's divorced, you could do something like that. Like you had talked about, maybe she did get married, she had kids. She got divorced. Maybe she has an estranged relationship with her, children, and Jamie's really the only thing that she has. Or if Jamie's the only, if you don't see any of Rachel's kids, or husband, you could play it two ways. You could do it to where she did get married, had a divorce, whatever, doesn't see her kids anymore, or she never got married and has been, basically taking care of Jamie, taking care of, and I say that loosely because they're women, but you know what I mean? Just, feeling this responsibility to make sure Jamie's okay. And maybe you could actually, I kind of like that because you can even play off of that a little bit. You could have a scene where, Rachel or Jamie looks at Rachel, like maybe they have like a kind of falling out, like, you don't need to take care of me anymore, Rachel. You know what I mean? Something like that. You know what I mean? Where Jamie just feels, or where Rachel feels that she can't let go because Rachel maybe sees Jamie as that little girl who needs to be saved.
Yeah.
Whereas Jamie's just like, she's still dealing with her emotions. She feels like the town is like everyone's looking at her when they're not. And you could have a moment, like I said, where, Jamie feels like, Rachel, you don't need to, always be there, taking care of me. I can take care of myself.
Yeah, those are great ideas. I think the reason why I naturally sort of lean towards things Rachel maybe at some point throughout that 30 years maybe had a bit of resentment towards Jamie and they didn't speak. But then, of course, now they are. When we're reintroduced to them at the present time that we're reintroduced to them, things are fine. They've been, friends for, 20 years or something, and they've been in each other's lives or whatever. But I think what is so interesting is that life is messy. And I think sometimes fans, when we get emotionally attached to characters' relationships, we always imagine that they love each other and it's been that way forever. That's one of the things that I really appreciated, actually, even though it kind of rubbed some people the wrong way. The relationship that Lawrence Kasdan and J.J. Abrams wrote between Han and Leia in The Force Awakens, I actually didn't mind. Some people were like, what, they're not married, they're not like living happily ever after and everything was so great. I love Han and Leia. I actually really appreciated that Han went back to doing what he did and he was kind of a deadbeat dad and, whatever. And because it's life's messy and life never works out. Very rarely does it work out the way you want it to or the things you want it to. And when you introduce, and again, it doesn't have to be overly complicated. This is a Halloween slasher movie, for God's sakes. But to add a little bit of sort of meat there, I think just makes the characters more interesting. Where you discover, oh, wow, holy shit, like Rachel was really upset after that. Wow. Well, I mean, her foster sister, like she gave Rachel, like, you could play it like I gave you a chance, like that's what in her 17-year-old head, like, what do you care about at 17, right? Boys, soccer practice, looking good, going to the dance, I mean, this is, it's a level of maturity, right? And maybe at that age, it's like, wow, like I didn't like you when you came to live with me. And then I did like you. And now you fucking murder my mom, and it's like, what the fuck? And maybe there's a little bit of that. Well,
technically now, if you're not going to have her institutionalized and she's living out, you can play with the idea of killing the mom off or just attacking the mother.
Well, you could, but I'm saying that even if she did kill the mom, she still could have been institutionalized, but only for 10 years or something like that. I mean, she could have gotten out because she was 12 years old. So it is unlikely that she probably would. I mean, when I think of kids murdering, it depends. Some kids are tried as adults and all that kind of stuff. It all depends on what the psychological ramifications were and what the arguments were for Jamie Lloyd. I mean, that's something that, we'd have to think about as well. But it's totally believable that we could be introduced to her. She could have spent time in an institution as a minor, as a teenager, and she came out when she was 25 or so. That's totally believable to me.
That's what I like about the one good thing they did in Halloween 5. There's not many things, but one of the character arcs that they did, very short character arc they did with Rachel, is that Halloween 5 takes place 1 year after Halloween 4. And Rachel's still by her sister's side. She hasn't left her sister's side. She's still there. She's going to the children's place that Jamie's in, visiting her sister, knowing that she's attacked her mother.
Although there is one scene in Halloween 5 that doesn't make sense to me, talking about character motivation, is when Dr. Loomis calls Rachel and is like, I want you to check on Max. Will you check on Max? And she's like, what? Okay. It's like, because she knows that Jamie is really worried and scared. And it makes no sense that Rachel would fluff that off, having just been through what she went through. And this is a writing thing. This is actually, having
the writer's not thinking that scene.
For sure, because having just been through what they went through in Halloween 4 a year prior, for Rachel to just fluff that off and look so annoyed at Dr. Loomis's insinuation that you need to check on Max.
What does she do? She looks at the phone. Oh, she's like, brother.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. And it's like, I don't believe that character would do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I believe the character would go, okay, yes, right away, Dr. Loomis. Okay, hang on a sec. I'll be right back. 100% that's what you do, because look what you just went through. It's not like you you literally were the main course of that meal. You wouldn't have that reaction. Whatever. You wouldn't respond that way. You respond that way.
Yeah, that was bad. Again, bad writing, obviously.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But like I said, the one good thing was that, Rachel was still there for Jamie, even through all of that. Which
she
is why
was.
I think I would steal from that, keep that as part of this new sequel timeline. And like I said, I would very much just simplify it as they're just two townies. They're two town girls. Rachel works at a bar across the street from where Jamie works at the coffee shop. And you see Jamie closing up the coffee shop to walk over to the bar. And, Rachel slides a beer down and she's just like, another day, kiddo. Isn't that what doesn't she call her kiddo? Like,
I think so. Yeah.
One of her nicknames. And
I think so.
In fact, that would be a good callback.
Yeah.
You just see Jamie kind of roll her eyes, like whatever. And whether you have them live together or not, I don't know. But I definitely think just keeping them as just very two simple town girls who went through this horrific experience. I definitely like that idea a lot. Now with Michael, where has he been for 30 years? Okay.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing.
You got to tread carefully with that one.
Here's the thing. And this is going to upset fans, but there's a couple of ways that you can do this, right? And you know me, it's just the kind of person I am. I'm always looking for a little meat on the bone, but you're absolutely right. You could totally play it the way that you said it. There's no layers there really at all. They're just maybe she spent some time in an institution and she got out and they've just been there and she never had an issue or whatever the case is. For me, if I was writing it, I would probably add a few things like that. Like maybe she, just to make the characters more interesting and add a bit more bottom to the characters, sort of complicate the relationship. I don't mean complicate the movie, but just kind of make the relationship more interesting. Because life's messy, right? You know what I mean? And just because they didn't do that with Halloween 5 doesn't mean you don't have an opportunity to make it a little more, it's been 30 fucking years. Who knows what's gone on in that? You have 30 years. Who knows what's gone on in that 30 years? It's entirely possible they've spent that 30 years just fucking being townies working at the pool hall, 100%. Yeah. But maybe not. Maybe there's a little bit of meat there that just makes things a little more interesting. But either way you do it, with Michael, here's the thing. The last we see of Michael is
he's
falls into the mine shaft or whatever.
Now the explosion thing doesn't happen because Halloween 5 doesn't happen.
Right. Correct. That's right. That's right.
That's very important, folks. What Dave is describing here. The last time we see Michael is was it a mine shaft that he falls down, or like a hole?
I think it's a mine shaft or something like that. I think so.
Whatever he falls down into at the end of 4. That is the last that we see of him.
Correct. So
how do you solve that problem?
Well, here's the thing. Because remember, this is me talking, so I'm always like, "Oh, this might be interesting," because you have to. Now he can. Okay, so you can just have him show back up.
Oh wait, before you say I really want to stress this. This time around, in this sequel,
yes,
he's wearing the bandage only. He's not putting a mask on. He's bandaged Michael Myers. That's a rope.
Well, it depends, right? And if he does put a mask on, it would be the OG mask. It's not going to be any sort of.
Maybe have a moment there at the end.
But here's the thing. So where has he been for 30 years? Okay, well, there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can approach it from the perspective of Halloween H2O. I never found his body. Okay, some throwaway line where it's like, he's got to be shitting, he's got to be peeing, they make no mention of the burns on his hands and all that the nonsense that was H2O. I know there's H2O fans in the chat room, but anyway. So,
right?
I know, it's good. The nonsense, yeah.
His eyes are fully intact.
Perfectly. Not only are his eyes fully intact, we get to see his eyes.
No damage from the
I know, and fans are like, well, actually, technically, the bullets didn't shoot Michael's eyes out. They shot above his eyes. Because if you look carefully, you can still. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sakes, yeah, come on, man, come on. Anything fans will do to justify it. But anyway, so. But you can do the old, he's just out there and I don't know, he just shows back up. You can do that. And it's more plausible, although it's just ridiculous. Technically, it's doable because Michael in Halloween 4.
Capture him again and put him away?
Well, no, here's the thing. Technically, because we're not negating Halloween 2 and 4. By Halloween 4, Michael has clearly got some heavy supernaturalness to him, right? So, you can, whereas the reason why they had to have him captured with Halloween 18, I know in Halloween Kills, he shot point blank range and people are like, oh, what, are they going supernatural again? I get all that, but I'm just saying, going back to Halloween 18, the reason why they had to have him institutionalized again is because they couldn't just have him out there into the ether because he wasn't literally supernatural, right? Michael's always been that dichotomy, right? There's always been that dichotomy in the sense of he is a human being with just this weird supernatural thing that nobody's been able to put their finger on, which is what creates the mystique and the mystery, which is what creates us loving the character because we don't know what it's that unknown factor that keeps it there, and that must remain a mystery. But by the time you get to 4 and 5, I mean, he's not quite Jason, but he's well on his way to being this kind of supernatural thing.
Sure.
So with 4, you could play it that way where he comes back. And nobody knows where he's been. And he doesn't have the mask on he had in 4. I don't know why. Maybe he just, rotted over the last 30 years or whatever. But you'd think he'd...
That's why.
Well, sure. But then the bandages would be full of fungus and sweat. Well, the bandage,
he could easily update the bandages. You can just get, you know what I mean? You can update
He can walk into a Walgreens and buy some new bandages. Sure.
Yeah.
But
well, because see, the thing with the bandages that I like is there's a lot that you can play with it. You could have like part of his even burnt face showing.
You
with
could.
The bandages wrapped
you
up.
Could.
You know what I mean? You're not seeing all of it, but you're seeing a little bit of it.
Yeah. I like Cody's comment here. This time they're actually ready.
Yeah, that's what it'll be called.
That's funny.
Halloween 5.
This time they're really actually ready. This time they're actually. But here's the thing, though, right?
And he's really unmasked.
That's right. This time he's really unmasked. So you can play it that way. I never found his body, or you don't acknowledge you leave the grave site, right, where we last saw him, right, his last resting place, let's say. Maybe till the end of the movie. And what you really play into, I know this is going to rub hardcore blood, guts, and gore slasher fans the wrong way, but it's elevated. But hey, this is me. What do you expect? I'm trying to make it the same, but add something new, you know? Or because Jamie, right? We know she suffers, like she suffers maybe she has psychological trauma. Maybe she's still on medication all these years. And like you said earlier, right? The thing that I like what you said, because I think it's totally believable, where like she thinks people are making fun of her. Are they making fun of her? Or is it just in her head? What is in Jamie's head? What is and isn't in Jamie's head? And I don't mean you go full force and really make it confusing and all that kind of, but clearly maybe there are some things that are genuine that she is experiencing. And maybe there are things that she's paranoid about, right? She's paranoid. She feels self-conscious, uncomfortable at her job, maybe at her work or whatever. That's why she's isolated. She's a bit of a hermit. She's a bit of a introvert. She doesn't have a lot of friends. Her sister Rachel is that one constant in her life, right? And so you could really play on this idea that Jamie, for whatever reason, you don't have to explain it. It's unnecessary. But for whatever reason, at this point in her life, she thinks Michael's coming back. But the question is he coming back? Has he come back? Because obviously you would see him and, you know, in the shadows and you really play it like the original, right? Like there, not there, low-key lighting, really kind of, you know, stark contrast, really play into those deep blacks and things like that, and kind of, you know, all that kind of stuff, right? Really make it a real creepy, eerie, like we talked about, that small, like the original, right? You know, all that, the mood, the atmosphere, all that kind of stuff. But is Jamie real? Is he really there? Is she really seeing this, right? You know, or is it in her head? You know, is it actually happening? You know, or is it in her head? And maybe there is a murder that happens.
Like a little bit of an H2O, because isn't that what Lori was going through at the beginning there before Michael finally showed up?
It does, but I mean, that was like mid-90s. I mean, one of the worst shots in that whole movie is when she's looking at her reflection, or she's looking at in the store window, and you see, no disrespect to Chris Duran, this is not personal to him, but you see Michael in broad daylight, you know, step out from behind her in the reflection. The H2O Michael, to me, is not scary in the slightest. He just looks like some dude who's missed his convention. Okay, he looks like a cosplayer that's wandering around trying to figure out where Comic-Con is. I'm sorry, but that's how it looks to me, because he just looks like a fish out of water, and he looks like a lost puppy. And so I'm not talking about that shit. I'm talking about scary shit, like really utilizing light and shadow, like really making a horror psychological slasher thriller, you know, and really play into that psyche of Jamie, where she's like, you know, and then she goes to Rachel, and Rachel's a little skeptical, and, you know, go ahead.
The other thing I was thinking of, I don't know, it's an all right idea. It's not a great idea. Is Michael was captured again. And in the first act, the tone is he's being put to death, and Jamie and Rachel know it. Mm-hmm. You know, and I don't know. You have a situation where, you know, maybe, or even a conversation like, you know, between Jamie and Rachel. Are you going to go? Do you want to go? You know, they know his death sentence is, you know, coming up. Yeah. And, you know, maybe you have a freaky situation where he does escape. I mean, again, it's going down the escape route again after doing it in the original and then doing it again in Halloween 4. Although Halloween 4 was pretty creative. I will give them that. You know, from a young kid seeing that movie for the first time and being introduced to this franchise. Mm-hmm. I remember watching that as the 10-year-old in me thought it was really cool. The 10-year-old loved the thumb going into the head.
Oh yeah. And that was an add-on too.
Fucking great. Yeah. You know, I love the little subtlety of, like, you know, when they're talking about Jamie and he, you know, does that with his fist, you know what I mean? Yeah. You know, so when you were talking, I was starting to think like maybe they could, but I hate to recycle shit again. That's why I said it's not a great idea. It's like, you know, like you said, either he's out there or you go the capture road. And I'm like, well, with the capture road, you need to You need to kind of add something to that. Not just like he's captured, he's there, he escapes.
I agree.
Maybe he is being put to death. And
maybe
you play off of that a little bit.
But tell me what you think of this. So going back to my idea for a moment. So Jamie she thinks she's seeing him behind, like Dr. Loomis said in the original, no, don't tell anybody. They'll see him on every street corner. They'll look for him on every house and, all that kind of stuff, right? So maybe Jamie is starting to think she sees him, right? And it's not like we don't open the movie on Halloween. Maybe it's a couple weeks before Halloween or something. I don't know. And maybe she's seeing this, and maybe it's not really him at first, right? But it's an omen, right? You could play it that way. And you don't have to spell all this out. You can use cinematic language. Treat your audience, like they're smart. And if they don't get it, well, then they'll ask their friends what it's all about. But, you don't have to, serve it to them on a silver platter, but you can, treat it this way. And then maybe she's trying to convince Rachel, we got to go check the grave. And Rachel's like, well, his body wouldn't still be there. Like, I'm pretty sure the authorities would have, dug him up and arrested him if he was alive still, or moved his body, or, what have you. And then maybe for whatever reason, Jamie eventually convinces Rachel, please, this is fucking, this is gonna happen. And maybe there's something about it. Maybe there's something about maybe Rachel has an experience, and it's kind of like, maybe there is something going on here. There's a murder in town, maybe, that just kind of rubs them the wrong way. And it's like, what the fuck's going on? And Rachel, maybe they go to the police and they're like, what's the dealio with Michael Myers? Blah, blah, what happened to Michael Myers? Did you do this, whatever? And they find out that maybe, I don't know how believable this would be, but hey, it's a Halloween movie, after all, first and foremost. But maybe they never did move his body or something. He was down there. He fell down this mine shaft. He was dead. All this shit fell on top of him. They never moved his body. So Rachel and Jamie take it matter into their own hands to go and investigate that site and see maybe if his body is still there, to some degree, right? And it's like, nah, this not going to happen. Maybe this is like, the beginning of the second act, or like midway through the second act or something. I don't know. But maybe not. I don't know. But I'm just thinking, like, something happens where they discover that his body isn't there. And it's like, what the fuck? Where is he? Where did he go? Like, where is he? What happened? But there's twofold, right? Like, audiences today are not like they were 30 or 40 years ago, and they need everything explained to them, right? I mean, for Christ's sakes, there's YouTube videos with, big red arrows, pointing to shit and explain all this. People need everything spilled out. Very few audiences can enjoy and revel in the unknown and the mystery and just not knowing. So, your idea would probably... I hate that too, because not everything needs an explanation, because that's where the filmmakers get an opportunity to use their talents by delivering stories that are rich with symbolism and cinematic language for you to evoke a feeling or to get you interpreted in your own mind and all that kind of stuff. But this is an option. It's an idea. Good,
kind of what if video like what we do that I just saw recently, and I don't say, like you said, I don't say that very often with all these explained and Easter egg videos out there. I can't stand.
Sometimes I watch an explained video because I'm like, really, somebody's explaining that? I'm like, who the fuck didn't get that?
I know, right?
What bonehead didn't understand that?
What one I saw here recently, and I was like, geez, in hindsight, man, that actually would have been a really fucking good idea if Lucas did that. I was watching a Star Wars Theory video, and I think it was Star Wars Theory. It was someone. Yeah. It had to be, because he's the only one I subscribe to. And I guess they originally had written Anakin when he goes into the temple. Just before that, there was a scene where Sidious gives him a kyber crystal. You know what a kyber crystal is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. He gives him the red kyber crystal.
Yeah.
And then when you see Anakin walk into, and this was, they came really close to shooting this. Like the scene was all drawn out and everything, a storyboard, I should say, because he was sharing some of the photos from whatever book he had. And when Anakin is standing in front of the youngling, instead of the blue lightsaber lighting up in front of the kid, it's the red lightsaber lighting up in front of the kid. And in hindsight, when you see that red lightsaber, you now know that's Darth Vader. it's not Anakin Skywalker anymore. When the blue lightsaber lights up, there's a bit of Anakin still there that you think like, well, will he turn back? Right. Obviously he doesn't. But had Lucas gone down the road of going, I was like, you know what? That actually would have been really fucking cool and seeing the red light. So I'm not a big fan of a lot of those videos, but that was one video that I watched and I was like, you know what? That would have been really cool to see, because you see the red lightsaber light up in front of the little kid, especially that type of a juxtaposition. That would have been really cool. But most of those videos, like there was one here the other day I saw something to do with Scream Explained. With the original Screamed or something. I'm like, oh yeah, if you don't know this shit by now, it's like,
well, a lot of these people do these videos because they get views, and a lot of people who watch them already know the answers to everything. They just like listening to people talk about their favorite stuff. There's nothing wrong with that, but really, if we're talking about The Shining or I don't know, Jacob's Ladder or some sort of elevated, okay, some sort of cerebral film, perhaps, I get it. But if you're fucking doing an explained video for Paris Hilton film, I think we've got a problem. But anyway, but the point I'm making is that adding a bit of a
Kills ending explained.
Yeah, like seriously. Oh yeah, I think they're like I think they exist.
Just like 900 videos.
I know, but adding a bit of a cerebral angle. I don't mean making the film complicated and because first and foremost, you don't want to destroy the DNA of what a Halloween film is. But that doesn't mean you can't. I often say this word, even though it's not a word, maturize it, make it a bit more mature, and add a bit of a cerebral tinge to it as it relates to, because it's properly motivated to add that angle to it in the writing, because you have a character who has experienced psychological trauma. So it's not like it's out of place to have her maybe think she's seeing Myers. And I'm not saying that he doesn't actually really come back. Maybe he does. Maybe he really does come back. And you don't need an explanation for it. But it's the mystery, right? It's the slow burn. Is he there? Is he not there? What's going on? What's happening? And then eventually, of course, he comes back. But the crux of the story, whatever we decide, or whatever what was done, Tony and I have always agreed that the crux of the story is about Rachel and Jamie's relationship, and seeing their relationship that the seed was planted in Halloween 4 and it was absolutely destroyed and decimated in Halloween 5. It was so unfortunate, and we want to see that Rachel and Jamie relationship again and flourish. And that's what the movie would be about. And maybe you do finally do that scene where they're on the roof of somebody's house, or there they are on the roof again or something, right? Nice callback, but this time it's on fire, right? And maybe it's on fire and shit's going on or whatever, right? You take kind of a page out of what they wanted to do with the original Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, but actually implement that in this one instead. There's all sorts of things you could do, but it really is about the relationship between Rachel and Jamie. And that doesn't mean you don't have other characters. I mean, somebody shows up, a friend, or, the police, whatever. Of course.
You can have Lindsay back.
Like actually Lindsay Wallace?
Or Lindsay, their friend that was in the car.
Oh, yeah, well, that's supposed to be Lindsay Wallace, but
No, you definiitely make her not Lindsay
Wallace.
Lindsay
Wallace.
There's no argument.
Yeah. We bring back Tina with no explanation.
Again, you could have Tina's character.
Well, you could, because Halloween 5 doesn't exist.
Exactly. I'm not against the Tina character. But
I think sorry, I just wanted to say that I think it really is with Michael Myers. It comes down to what is the tone of the movie, right? What do you want this movie to be?
You could have a news report where Michael's last seen at a summer campground in New Jersey.
Yeah, you could.
In a hockey mask.
You could. But if you
fanboys like, yes,
for sure. It'd be all over the place. But you could have, if you want to, because it starts with the writing and it starts with the first act. So if you want this just to be a run-of-the-mill slasher movie, very simple, A, B, C, D, 88 minutes, in and out, done, then just have them come back with no explanation. But if you want a little bit of meat on the bone, which is how I would like to tackle it, I don't mean, again, a whole 9-course, dinner, but just a little something there. I think adding a little bit of that, what's this here, kind of playing into her psychological state, is interesting, doing what they, I guess, sort of were doing with Halloween H2O, but it's done much more. It's done way better. It's done way better. And maybe he does show up. And of course the town, and you can play into the town, not, but Michael Myers is dead. What the hell are you talking about? He's not coming back. I don't know why they sound like it from the South, but anyway. So, you have all this thing where it's like, Michael's not coming back. What do you do? You play into those typical tropes. But the crux of the story, what makes the movie so good, isn't necessarily the typical tropes that you will obviously inevitably have, or certain little things that maybe, are kind of cliche. It really is about the relationship between those two characters. Would you agree with that? I think you do, right?
I would. Yeah. I do. And again, I think with Michael, you can go the way you said, or you can do, I think the safe play probably, if honestly, I think they probably would do another escape. And if they did do the escape thing, just make it good. Make it believable. I wouldn't do what they did in Halloween Kills, although that was good. I wouldn't recycle that.
Yeah, I understand.
Not Halloween Kills, Halloween 2018.
Yeah.
I think that's what I don't remember what I said.
No,
I don't even remember what I said 2 minutes ago. But the escape route tends to be it's the safe play. Except I think again, instead of, Michael just, being transferred somewhere, I think, he should be on death row. I think he should be almost, I think something should happen in that transition from him going to walking the Green Mile there. There's your Green Mile call out.
Yeah, that's right.
I just watched that not too long
ago. Walking the mile.
So having some type of a situation where he escapes.
Right. Well, I think the death row thing is interesting because what's their faces? The death row thing was actually a major plot point in the defunct, unrealized Halloween Returns from 2013, 14, whatever it was. Yes, I believe so. The chat room can correct me if I'm wrong, but it was something that was...
Is that Halloween Return script that I've never read that's out there somewhere?
Yes. Okay. And I believe death row was that Michael was on death row and he was going to escape and all that kind of stuff. So now, to be fair to Tony's point, that is something we haven't seen. So it is him escaping, but from a different perspective. So having that death row thing might actually, is an interesting, is very interesting. And maybe that's the story you tell, but with Rachel and Jamie. It's an option.
Maybe he escapes. I mean, do you have him escape the night before? Do you have him? Is it in town, or is it a state pen? I
don't think it would be in town. I think it would be.
Do they
somewhere?
So it's a state penitentiary. So does the news broadcast it to where Haddonfield is anticipating his return, or do they do like it's kind of like what you would expect to see in a movie. Like, why would they not just broadcast it? Right. Maybe the warden and the people behind the scene, the politicians are like, listen, we don't want to have a panic on our hands on Halloween night. Let's keep this mum. Let's keep this quiet. You know what I mean? You could do something like that. Let's find him, bring him back. We don't. So basically, in essence, the politicians sort of become like the bad. I don't mean politicians as in political. I'm using the word. The politics behind the scenes. That's probably more the proper word to use. Yeah. Politics behind the scene of keeping it quiet so that they don't create a panic is what ultimately causes the demise again here for Haddonfield as Michael makes his way back. And I mean, like I said, I like the idea of Michael being kind of, bandaged, and he's bandaged up because he's obviously given the stuff in the penitentiary of where he's at. Yeah. And I like the idea of it's not a great wrap, but it's wrapped enough to where you maybe see a little bit of his face, cheek or something, or high cheekbone burnt up. You see the eyes are obviously opened enough to where he can visibly see. And it's just a bad rap. It's not like anything. It's not as perfect as they did in Halloween 4. It's just like something he did, when he's in his cell. Yeah. But when he comes back, and when he makes it back to Haddonfield, he's fucking pissed. Like like a real fucking pissed. Like I know you don't like Halloween Kills, but bro, that fucking firefighting scene at the beginning, I fucking love. That's one of my favorite kill sequences because just how brutal he is in that. It's like I've been waiting to see Michael go off like that in a fucking movie forever, and he just takes out like fucking 12 firefighters in one shot, and I'm just like, fuck yeah. And when he fucking takes the crowbar and hoists the dude up, I'm like, fuck yeah. Was it a crowbar or was it a saw? I can't remember.
Oh, is that the Halligan bar, I think it's called? Something
like that, whatever it is. Yeah, so like that type of viciousness.
Oh, the saw, it was I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, when he hoists the fire guy up. Yeah. Like that type of just, pure violence. And, I mean, if you're sitting there on the drawing board thinking like, do we leave it in the tank to where we want to do a sequel? Maybe this is where I would steal the idea from what they did here recently with 2018 and Halloween Kills. If you were to do 2 movies, I would just set it in the same night and just make it a really long Halloween night for these folks.
See,
but much better.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like not just like, don't go back to the hospital. Don't do any of that shit. Like, like if actually, I kind of like the idea of like, they're up on the roof, Michael's chasing them down again, a little callback. The roof is on fire.
Yeah.
If that's how you end it, you basically pick up right from where that leaves off, and they're continuing trying to escape Michael.
You could do that. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Because like I'm throwing out the idea of like if you want to give Danielle Harris and Ellie their due and give them maybe a proper trilogy for Halloween 4, I would not do like Halloween, reboot Halloween 5, and then wait a couple years to do a reboot Halloween 6. I would do 2 movies. Everything takes place on one fucking night. And it's just a fucking bloodbath. And if you're going to kill Rachel, I would do it at the end of the second film in a, whatever poetic type way. I don't care. But like you said, I like the idea of even bringing back Tina. I didn't dislike the character. I just didn't like how the character was used. You know what I mean? I think the other way you could have played Tina in Halloween 5 is that
Tina is not the worst part of that movie.
No, she could have survived at the end. She didn't have to die, and Rachel dies, and then now you have this new character in the franchise that we have for one full movie that we've grown to appreciate to where she could have been in Halloween 6. So yeah, totally bring that character back. Yeah, I mean, I think again, are they going to do it? Probably not. But I think what you and I have talked about tonight, I think if we were able to sit down in a room with a COD and be like, what do you think? I don't think he would totally hate on the idea. You know what I mean? And I just think a lot of our ideas have to be flushed out. Obviously, what we're presenting is very much a cash grab. It's not like,
Well, yeah. And that's the question is it a cash grab? And that's what the distributors like Universal or whoever, would be distributing the movie would be thinking about, because, this is something that Halloween 18 made $254 million at the worldwide box office, not because it was $254 million of just hardcore Halloween fans. These movies, as Tony, have to appeal to a general audience. And by using Jamie Lee Curtis and John Carpenter, and Jamie Lee Curtis is for all intents and purposes, she might even be more popular than Michael Myers when it comes to the face of the franchise. And so you say that she's coming back, and you have John Carpenter coming back.
Oh, it was lightning in a bottle.
It was that thing where it was. You're right, but it's so you then suddenly try to say, okay, Halloween Ends is over now. Now we're doing Halloween sequel to Halloween 4. Danielle Harris. The average movie fan, what the hell is going on? I thought they just did.
No, it would be for just the fans.
100%. And unfortunately, horror fans are like Star Wars fans, and they live in a bubble. And they think that everybody cares about what they care about to the same degree for which they care about it. And it's not true. And then you can whittle it down even further. You have the horror umbrella. There's a lot of horror fans, right? Which is, slashers, psychological, this, that, all these films, all these, subgenres. Then you have Halloween, who's, way off in the corner over there, right? It has its own sort of space in the corner over there. And you get together and you're talking about it and you tune into shows like this and you read articles and you watch other people. And there's this perception that the whole world cares about Halloween. The whole world doesn't give a fuck about Halloween. In the big picture is what I'm talking about, right? We sometimes forget that it's,
we are a very small fan base.
A very small fan base.
When you base it on a 9 billion, what we're up to 9 billion.
But just in the movie going experience. So that's why you will often see, studios, they want to appeal to the fans, of course, but fans, like I've always said, you're going to be there day one. It doesn't matter how bad Halloween Ends trailer is. It doesn't matter how bad Halloween Ends poster is. It doesn't matter how bad somebody says it is. You will watch it.
For sure.
You will watch it.
Although I will say, dude,
you're guaranteed locked and loaded. So hang on. I just want to, yeah.
Personally, this is just a personal thing. I would lose my shit to have that on-screen moment of Michael, Jamie, and Rachel together on screen for the first time.
Of course,
in 30 fucking years. That would just be a personal
100%.
Oh shit, here we go.
100%. Especially if it was get back George P. Wilbur and suit him up.
You know what I mean? If it's not George P., as long as it's Michael, Ellie, Rachel, and Danielle Harris, Jamie, if it's those three,
I get it. I totally get it.
The 10-year-old boy in me who first was introduced to this franchise by this movie, to see that would be like
100%. And listen, dude,
more so than what I got with the 18 film.
For sure. I get it. Listen, I'm not a big fan of the sequels, but I got a little soft spot for Halloween 4, sure. And I'd love to see it too. And I'd revel in the nostalgia, and I'd sit there going, oh, especially if it was the same. See, that's why I've always said why I don't want to see Danielle Harris back unless she's playing the Jamie Lloyd. I can't get excited if she's playing, Margaret from Shoppers Drug Mart. I mean, it doesn't do anything for me. She's
Margaret.
Just, but I mean, it doesn't do anything for me, right? So anyway, I digress. So the point I'm making is that studios tend to, they know the fans are a lock. They know the fans are a lock. Now, that doesn't mean that when they send, the picture off to the trailer houses to get cut and all that kind of stuff, that, trailer houses half-ass it because no, it doesn't mean that at all. But they always want to appeal not just to Halloween fans, to horror fans. They want to get as many people to watch that movie as possible. Now, Halloween fans would love less is more, right? Halloween fans would love less is more in their trailers, wouldn't they? Yes, we would. But you know what? the stats show? Jason Blum did a whole interview on this a few years ago, where he said the reason why we show so much in a trailer is because we have to compete with streaming, and because the statistics show, because they've followed this with patterns and trends and all this, that the less there is in a trailer, the less you go see it. The more there is in a trailer, the more they go see it. And who do you think they're talking about? The average moviegoer. That's who they're talking about, right?
Okay,
the average moviegoer, right?
Sense.
Right. You see, they can't be so nuanced and really under the radar with the average movie-going audience, because the average movie-going audience doesn't care about Halloween to the degree that we do. All you could show is just Michael's ass cheek and we'd be there day one. It doesn't matter, right? But to the average, they need to show more. This is market. It's marketing 101. They need to market to everybody. They know that primarily horror and Halloween fans will go, but if they can get more people in and all that kind of stuff. So that's why I don't think...
If they kept the tone of Halloween 4 in this with a bit of a Halloween tone to it as well too, word of mouth would generate a good buzz for that. You know what I mean?
Right.
If it turned out to be nothing more than like another shit show Halloween 5 or a shit show Halloween 6 or a Resurrection, or whatever, then no. But if the tone of this sequel that you and I have presented tonight,
right,
and they kept it in the same stylized look and feel. You know, you could even do a callback of the opening and have like the fall scenes that they did in the beginning of Halloween 4. And you can even shoot it in that time of, well, actually, no, I mean, not, well, sometimes October can be pretty bare, but not that bare as they showed. And
November in the Midwest or here in Canada, November's a really bare.
November.
Yeah.
Those,
when all the leaves are off the trees.
I got what they were doing, and which was, you know, still. But yeah, you know, if the tone of the movie is good, and Michael's portrayed very well, and everything makes sense, then it would generate you could generate a good word of mouth buzz, just like the original did, and then that's where the movie could build momentum and do well. It would do. Obviously, in the opening weekend, it's going to do well with Halloween fans, meaning like the Halloween fans will go out just out of pure curiosity to see, like, all right, what the fuck did they do? It's how that movie's presented and how fans are feeling when they leave the movie, that like, if you got the YouTubers out there making the videos like, dude, just left this Halloween movie, it was so fucking good, I couldn't believe it, like I gotta go see this Halloween 4 movie. Like, I'm talking about YouTubers who don't know but do these movie reviews and they don't know Halloween 4 like we do as fans. Like, that's what I mean, like, by word of mouth and good positive reviews. That, because the thing, like you said, with Halloween 2018, like, people like my dad and my stepmom went to go. My dad doesn't watch Halloween movies, but because of the nostalgia with Jamie Lee Curtis and the good positive reviews that 18 got, it drew people in from the mainstream crowd to go, well, it's in October. It's a Halloween movie. Let's go check it out. That's what this movie would have to be banking on. It can't bank on the initial release. It has to bank on the good word of mouth afterwards, and people saying like, dude, you really should go see this. They did a really good job of
Agreed. But I will say, what I will say to that, though, is that Jamie Lee Curtis is a household name. Danielle Harris is not.
I get it. Yeah.
Right? Nobody knows who the fuck Danielle Harris is. Now, what I mean by that, I mean, generally speaking, right? She's not an...
Don't you have beef with Danielle Harris?
No, not at all. I love Danielle Harris. I have no beef with Danielle Harris. I love her. I mean, she's more well-known than I am.
Didn't she call you out or something? Or something happened between you two?
No. I had done... I was talking about Tony Moran, and because
that's right,
there was a thing, and then she had uploaded a video to her Instagram. I guess she saw my video and was like, "Hey Dave, if you ever want me to come on, and because I know Tony or something like that. I can't remember now and whatever." So I reached out to her. I said, "Yeah, come on," but I never heard back. So I was like, "All right, well then don't come on." I don't care. But no, I love Danielle Harris. I have no issues with Danielle Harris. But I'm just saying, when you look at it's Jamie Lee Curtis, right? I mean, that's a household name. Yeah. Danielle Harris is not. I mean, I could walk down the street and say Jamie Lee Curtis.
It's a household name within the Halloween.
Well, in the Halloween horror, sure. Yes, of course, right? But a sequel to Halloween 4 is much harder to market. It's much harder to market. It's much harder to market to the masses. It's much harder to get people to care about it, even if it's good. And that's why I don't think they would take that risk. I really don't think they would take that risk. I don't think it's necessary either.
You know what I would call it, just to rub it in the fucking face of the people who fucked it up initially? I would call
Halloween
it
5, The Revenge of Michael Myers?
Yeah. Not Halloween 5. I would just call it Halloween, The Revenge of Michael Myers.
Revenge of Michael Myers again.
Or The Return of Michael Myers. 2.0.
Right. The Revenge of Michael.
I don't know. The title, I mean, yeah, the title is important, but it's not important. I mean, you can.
No, it's not important at all.
You can flesh out ideas.
But everything we're saying here is all.
You could use the Halloween title. What the Returns? Wasn't that the one?
Halloween Returns, yeah. Which was a good title. That's really that was the one that never got made. That's what 18 should have been. Halloween Returns, Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends. That's what it should have been.
Damn. That is a missed opportunity.
Huge missed opportunity. Huge.
Halloween Returns, Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends. Yeah. What the fuck?
Yeah, what the fuck? No, instead it's
in hindsight, now that you say that, yeah, you're right. Shit.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah,
total
that's
missed
what
opportunity.
We call the Halloween Returns, not Returns of Michael Myers, but Halloween Returns.
Right. Now, for me as a writer, I would, because I often do this, I would not, it depends, but hypothetically, I would write it as a one and done kind of thing. I don't think it's necessary to go on with, let's make another one with Jamie and let's make another one. I don't think, no, it's sort of like a swan song. It's a what if, right? It's like a reunion kind of thing, like a reunion special.
I'd make it a 3-hour movie. Hell yeah.
No,
if it's
7 hours.
If it's one and done, I want a 3-hour good send off with the Jamie Lloyd character.
I want
you do 2 movies.
Dude, I want a 7-hour movie, and
There
Dick Warlock's going to be playing Michael Myers.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
I love Dick. I do. I love Dick Warlock. I should say I love Dick Warlock is what I should say.
There you go. Mitch Reaper's got it right. Halloween, the return of the revenge of the curse of Michael Myers.
There you go.
That's it. That's the title.
But no, I think, I don't think we're ever going to see it for the reasons that, we've talked about here, but it's
Never
a fun
never,
what if.
Well,
you never say never, but I just don't think it's likely.
You know how you would see it is if someone like DeSantis, or someone like that, or even yourself, if you,
Vincent DeSantis. Yeah.
Or DeSantis, or even someone like yourself, if you actually decided to say, you know what, I'm gonna fucking do this as a fan film, you probably could raise the money to. I know you won't, but I'm just saying in general, you probably could raise enough money to do that.
Oh, sure, because it's Halloween. It's absolutely Halloween. I mean, that's what
And your goal is to get Danielle Harris. Yeah, people are going to totally donate to help.
And if I already had her, they would for sure. Yeah. I just don't have an interest to do it.
I get it.
Yeah.
But that's the only way you could see something like this being done.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right, and I think like for me, the next fan film I do, if I'm going to do another fan film, will be the follow-up to Billy, because obviously we've done the first half, but
dude, you need to do that serial killer guy, man. I want to see that in a movie. That story is just fucked up.
Yeah,
it really is. It's the serial killer in Toronto. There was another serial killer story that I stumbled over. Dude, they got some fucked up people up in your neck of the woods. We're
not all nice.
No, like this guy was really fucked up. Like, oh my God, what was it? Was
Paul Bernardo?
He kind of based himself off of. It started off, he was killing cats on video.
Oh yeah. Luca Magnotta.
That dude. And then he kills a dude on video, and I'm just like, what the fuck is wrong with this idiot?
The documentary "Don't Fuck with Cats" on Netflix is all about that.
Yeah, I just watched that. I was just like, another fucking Canadian off his rockers. Like, what are they doing?
And let me just say that the narrator mispronounced. So Toronto has.
I thought he was mispronouncing something, and I was like, "Well, this doesn't sound right."
Toronto's got 4 boroughs. Okay, so there's Toronto, which is like the Toronto proper, which is in the center, and then to the west, the east, you have Scarborough, and then to the north you have North York. Okay, so it's like Manhattan, Queens, it's that kind of thing, and then to the west you have Etobicoke or Etobicoke, but it's spelled Etobicoke or whatever. Anyways, it looks like it's spelled like Etobicoke because it's Coke at the end, but it's actually Etobicoke. That's the name. And the narrator in this documentary said Etobicoke. And I'm watching, as a Canadian, of course, I'm watching. I'm like, Etobicoke.
Well, I think at times he didn't even pronounce Montreal properly.
He didn't?
No, because I remember I'm like, that's not how the way he was saying it, it just didn't sound like Montreal. You know what I mean? Like,
okay.
Of course, when I'm pronouncing Montreal, I'm probably over enunciating the words or
for me, I would just, well, it depends on where you are. I mean, for me, I would say Montreal.
Right. Or like,
but you can say Montreal too.
I'll say Quebec, but I think you guys say Quebec, right? It sounds like you're saying Quebec, but I'm saying Quebec.
Yes, the correct pronunciation is Quebec, and then, but just up here, we're, how you get lazy and whatever, and we just say
slang,
Quebec. It's like Toronto. It is. I always know an American because they'll go, "So you're from Toronto?" Pronounce
every syllable.
Every syllable, but here, we just say Toronto, or Toronto. You know what I mean? It's just, it is what it is. But Etobicoke. It's not Etobicoke, it's Etobicoke.
But dude, that fucking dude, man, Luca, what was his last name? Luca what?
Luca Magnotta, I think.
Yeah,
Luca Magnotta, whatever. Yeah, he was fucked up.
What the fuck?
He was fucked up.
First of all, the cat thing was nuts to begin with. The cats, plural. He did like multiple cats. But then to actually film himself killing a dude, and then he goes, I'm not shitting you. He goes full Christian Bale, American Psycho mode. After he kills the dude, he's walking in the lobby of his apartment that he lives in Toronto. And he's admiring himself in the mirror and like fixing his hair. I'm like, this fucking dude is crazy.
Yeah, and he broadcast the murder of somebody live. Yeah.
Live. Like, what the fuck? On the dark web.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew the dark web existed, but I was like, I didn't really think it was like that. Like, I knew some fucked up shit was on there, but I'm like,
I know.
God damn,
it's
man.
crazy.
Like,
but listen, hey, so Tony and I have been tackling this topic today. We've tossed around ideas.
Fun conversation.
Absolutely. And that's what I love about these What If episodes, because, we go into it, we exchange ideas, we hash things out. Sometimes we'll go back on our ideas because we come up with something better, and then we leave it up to you guys. So if you're watching live or after the fact, comment below and let Tony and I know your thoughts on a direct sequel to Halloween 4, pretending that 5, 6, 7, Resurrection, Rob Zombie's films, 18 Kills Ends, they don't exist.
I want a
it
Rob
never
Zombie
happened.
Halloween 3.
Oh, God. But comment below and let us know your thoughts about some of the ideas that Tony and I were talking about here. I think there's a lot of potential, definitely on a surface at face value. As a Halloween fan, at the very least, there's certainly a lot of potential there about sort of seeing where these characters are now and doing justice to Rachel Carruthers and the relationship between Jamie Lloyd and Rachel. And they come upon Michael Myers again and shit hits the fan. And I think that'd be cool to have like a roof scene with fire and all that kind of stuff. But make it a smaller film, go back to that moody atmospheric and shit. And I think it'd be a blast.
Yeah, and I do too. And I think if you made it that way, if you had it in the tone of Halloween 4 and the original, again, I think in the initial release, Halloween fans are going to go see it.
Yeah.
And if it's done well enough, that's where the positive reviews and the word of mouth and people going, hey, you know what? This actually is a pretty good Halloween movie. You should go check it out.
You never know.
That's where it could do well. But if they go fucking Halloween 5 route or Halloween 6 or Resurrection and you get stupid shit like that, then no, it's basically gonna fall flat on its face.
I think to give a direct sequel to Halloween 4, funny enough, a better chance of success at the box office, regardless of how good it is, I think you'd have to wait another 10 years. You have to distance yourself from this new trilogy because average movie fans are going to be confused. What? There was just a Halloween. What again? I don't understand what's going on. Halloween. What is this now? I thought he just died.
I agree, man. I'm so Michael Myers burnt the fuck out. It's like not even funny. Like I'm like, I am gladly opening up my arms for Freddy and Jason to come back anytime soon.
But I think waiting a long time, if you were going to do that, like maybe Danielle Harris would be in her 50s, right? Or something to that degree. I think waiting that much time sort of
I don't think she would want to wait. I think she wants to do it now.
Well, for sure. But I just mean in terms of success, right? If we're talking, I'm not convinced that doing it immediately after I think it would be suicide, really, at the end of the day. But that's me. All right, well, let's head over to the chat room and see what you guys and gals are saying. Some super chats did come in here. Filler Vision sends in a very generous $20 super chat. Thank you, Filler. And says, this got me thinking. Classic Doctor Who has a thing where they do new audio drama stories with the original actors. Could that be a possibility with the Halloween series? What if stories and sequels with the original actors? That's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea. It would have to be fan audio drama again, because obviously unless Malik wanted to do something official. But
are you talking about like doing like the old radio show type
thing? He's talking about how maybe something like that might be interesting for like a
I think something like that should come back, and I think something like that should come back in general. In fact, I think you should be doing shit like that because you've got the voice, you're able to do multiple voices.
Hey, if somebody wants,
I would love to. I wish there was a YouTube channel that would do that, because I have an app where I listen to a lot of those old radio shows that our grandparents and our parents listened to back in the day and whatnot. Because it's fun just to be able to sit there and just use your imagination sometimes, know, and there's definitely a niche for it, and no one's doing it right now. And,
I mean, you know what? As Tony, being a professional photographer and being in your 40s, we're at an age where we do nothing for free. So we have earned our place in our.
For something like that, you could copyright that, right? For sure.
I could do something original
on YouTube.
Yeah, but you know, I have no interest in doing all of the production and setting it up for free. I'd rather, you know, and then just letting it sit on YouTube in hopes that it makes money. I really have no interest in doing that. I don't have the time to do it either. Yeah. I'd have to be, you know, paid. I mean, I'm a pro. So, and I don't say that as a, you know, a pretentious thing. I just mean that I'm a professional in my craft, and I'd like to, you know, I need to get paid. You know, like paid. You, right? Exactly. Tony, can you come do this for free? You gonna pay me? No. Well, see ya. There's lots of students you can hire. You know, you've earned your keep, man.
I agree with you, Mike Johnson. Scout Taylor Compton is pretty hot. I think of all the girls in the franchise, as far as like being attracted to, she's probably the most that I'm attracted to. Like if I were to define like a girl that I would see myself dating and getting, I thought you were going to say, or would want to date and get involved with, she would probably be at the top of my list, even though Rachel is my favorite final girl in the franchise. But it's just, if we're going like now, like, you know, what we're attracted to, yeah, Scout definitely is. Yeah, she is something else. You know, I don't listen to their podcast very often, but I will occasionally. It's
pretty raunchy.
I was going to say those two love talking about sex. Like seems like every fucking clip I come across between Danielle Harris and Scout's podcast, and it's at random times.
Makes you wonder if they're happy in their relationship.
And I'm like, damn, man, I need to like make sure this shit is on mute, because if people are around me, they're like, what are you listening? It's like on Instagram, and like everything they're talking about sex, like, and there's nothing wrong with having a very healthy appetite sex life. But I was about to say the same thing you just said a moment ago. I don't think their dudes are hitting it right, because it just, I'm not trying to judge. I'm not trying to say that.
Here's what I, as a heterosexual man, okay, here's what I'm very happy in my relationship. But here's what I kind of say about that. I don't think there's anything wrong with talking about sex. That's fine. And
no, it's very healthy.
Well, but sure. But I mean, it's a little, and I mean no disrespect to the two of them when I say this. I don't know them personally at all. They could be very fine people. But just as an outsider looking in, I haven't watched them. I've only seen a couple of clips on Instagram that people have tagged me in. And things like that. Like, oh, this is kind of funny. They're talking about this.
But
I know people tag me in the dumbest shit. But anyway, with all due respect to people who tag me. Sometimes I get tagged in shit. I don't even know why I'm tagged in it. Like it's some guy cooking a hamburger. And I'm like, why am I tagged in this? Why am I tagged in this? Do I look like a hamburger kind of guy? I like a burger. I had one tonight. Anyway, so, but I will say that I can't speak for all men, obviously. But I'm somebody that if I'm going to listen to, you know, I don't know. It gets boring after a while if all women are doing is talking about sex, and it's just kind of like I'm going to tune out. Like I don't care. Like I really don't care about your sex life. And at the end of the day, but some men do, because some men oogle and they're like, oh, you know, all that kind of shit, right?
I get that. They're totally hitting the simps that follow them.
100%, 100%.
I get that 100%.
They're attractive women, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, and maybe it's because I'm getting older, you know, I'm just kind of
no, it's like that's all they talk. Literally,
no. But I mean,
we never listen to them. But that's every clip.
I understand that, but I just mean if I was 25, right? Maybe I'd be like, oh, and I'd be like, I wouldn't care. I'd be like, I hope they talk about sex all day, every day. But as a guy who's nearly 43, I'm just kind of like, okay, you know, haha, that's funny. You were talking about, you know, the time that your man walked in on you masturbating. I'm not saying that's ever been a topic. I have no idea. I'm just saying that sounds like something they might talk about.
I think it was.
Was it?
Or no. Her kid, Danielle's kid, found one of her toys in her drawer or something. And then Scout was talking about how like she likes a man to, you know, which is fine. Yeah, you know, if you like a man to take control of a situation, which clearly I'm just like, I want to DM her dude and like, dude, you better hit that right. Because if you don't, I know some people out there, including myself, that will.
Okay, well,
come on, man.
My perspective is I can only listen to that for so long. But maybe I'm not the target. And again, I haven't watched their show. I'm sure they do talk about other things. I'm simply talking about the few. I didn't even know they had a podcast. first of all. And about a month or so ago, I was tagged in a few things. I guess they were talking about Halloween or something, or, whatever. And so I watched, because, the clips were like 3 minutes long or whatever. And I'm watching this and I'm like, this is like, they're just talking about sex. And I'm like, why am I tagged in this? I don't understand. So, and again, if I was 25, yeah, I get it. I totally get it. But as a 40-something-year-old man, I'm just kind of like, I don't mind watching a show where
Danielle Harris is a 40-something-year-old mom.
I know, but I don't mind watching a show where but it I don't know. I would lose interest very quick if all, I think it's nice to see women talk more about more stuff than just men and sex. I think it's nice to see them talk about, and I'm not saying they don't. So if Danielle Harris gets wind of this, or I don't know you guys, I think you guys are awesome. It's not personal. Again, to be fair, full disclosure, I have not watched their podcast, but you've mentioned it. A couple other people have mentioned what you've mentioned to me. And so I'm just talking purely sort of as an outsider, just kind of saying, hey, I hope they talk about other things too, because, it would be nice to learn more about, I don't know, Danielle Harris is experience on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, or
not only that, what about her experience of being a mom? Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
For sure.
You don't have to just stand. I get it. There's the Danielle Harris fan base who love her, who are attracted to her. Scout,
there's the simps. They're out there.
Scout's a very, very hot, woman. So I get it. Sex sells. But like you said, and at first I thought it was from the same clip until I realized like they were wearing different outfits. And
right.
Then I kept seeing other stuff and I'm like, is this all they talk about? Like,
right.
You know what I mean?
Is it a sex show?
Is it a sex? Which is fine if that's what you're basing your show around.
Right.
But again, I also think I'm like, well, they're definitely catering to their right. simp fan base, who's obviously listening to it. But like, I just got to believe that there's, you know what I mean? Like that they can talk about other shit, like you and I can crack sex jokes on here, but we don't stay on the topic for very long. And we basically we get in and get out like a virgin on prom night.
Right. Right. It's funny. Right. No, but it's true. And and again, I don't know them. I haven't watched their shows, but I'm just speaking as a nearly 43-year-old man. You're nearly that age as well. And, but for me,
I'm 29.
Are you 29? Okay. Well, I'm 10. No, but,
forever. 29 forever.
That's
what I identify as.
Right. Exactly. I like listening to, things that are, just have more substance to it. Like, again, I don't mind the odd joke. Yeah.
Like what you and I were talking about before we went live. Dave and I were in this, and we might do this one night. Dave and I were in this real, like, fun discussion. We were talking about like stupid shit that we were doing in our childhood and mixing sugary substance and sodas and things like that. Like, just bringing up shit we used to do as kids, whatever. Like, there's so much, and then obviously the horror stuff. We love talking about that with you guys, but there's so much more to an individual than just every topic or every video you're hitting the sex. And I know why you're using that clip, and I get it. And it gets the
people watching.
Gets the boys to the show. I get it. But I've only watched these clips. I've never actually been in, like if there was a topic that the two of them were getting into and I'm like, well, damn, I want to hear that. Then I'm going to go and listen to it.
Yeah, I understand.
They haven't drawn me in. They've given me my 1 minute of pleasure by listening to them talk about sex. And now I'm gone.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like a virgin on prom night, in and out.
Right. Exactly.
Anyways.
Yep. No, I agree.
We should talk about our childhood sometimes and just the stupid shit
we should.
We really should.
So full disclosure, again, nothing against Danielle and Scout. Never met them. I have no issues with them. I haven't watched their show, so you could even
Scout,
say
you're my favorite Lori. That's my heart.
But you could even say, well, Dave, shut up. You know what we're talking about, and you'd have merit in that. Totally understand. I just hope that it's their show's more than that too, but I'm basing it on what people have told me, and I'm just hoping it's more than that too, because I don't know. There's such an opportunity there to get insight into their world in terms of their careers and things. And again, I'm sure maybe they've talked about that too, but again, I'm a 43-year-old man, for God's sakes. I'm not 22 anymore. So I just need more, Anyway, that said, let's move on here. Keep this train going.
Train.
train. Michael K sends in $10.
I was going to go somewhere with that, but never mind.
Michael K sends in $10 and says, not to get ahead of things, but if there were a continuation of part 4, the mask needs to be fixed. I think the mask in part 4 was just horrible. Great story, horrible mask. Could not agree more. Somebody out there needs to deep fake that shit. And I don't mean cheaply deep fake it. Out of all the incredible deep fake shit that's out there right now, somebody, if you're watching, if you know somebody, please, who's good at it, deep fake the original 1978 Michael Myers mask on Michael from Halloween 4. Do it. You don't have to do the whole movie. I mean, geez, that'd be fun. But take the rooftop scene or the dream scene that she has early on in the movie when Michael sits up behind her bed, right? No, but think about the dream scene when he sits up on the other side of the bed and turns his head. She opens the door and he's there and he's got the knife. Maybe do that scene, or the rooftop scene, something. Deep fake that shit. Somebody please deep fake that stuff. I think it'd be awesome. Riker K sends in $2, says, do you think YouTube will start taxing super chats? Taxing you on super chats? I don't know. Do they? I'm not sure. I know that YouTube takes 30% of every super chat.
Yeah, I was gonna say they already take a percentage off.
Yeah, for me. So if you send in $10, I really only get 7 of that. But I don't know if they tax the person giving the super chat. Do they? I'm not sure.
I don't know, man.
Southpaw82 sends in $5 and says, even though Halloween 5 is a bad film, it still has the look and feel of Halloween. Along with Alan Howarth's score, it holds a special place in my heart. Do you agree? Do I agree it holds a special place in your heart? No. Well, that is the only thing of why I put Halloween 5 above, I put Halloween 5 above Halloween H2O. Not because I think Halloween 5 is a great movie. It's because I think Halloween 5 is dog shit. It's one of the worst movies in the series. I loathe Halloween 5. If you like it, that's great.
I really feel.
Yeah, for sure. But if you like it, that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But it does have that fall vibe. Yep, it has that going for it. It's got Dr. Loomis in it, albeit more inebriated than ever before, but it's got Dr. Loomis in it, so it's got that going for it. It's got the Howarth score, so it's got that going for it, right? It's got a great opening credit sequence, right? It's got that going for it. And have you ever noticed that in the opening credits of Halloween 5, it just says Halloween 5? It doesn't say Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers?
Correct.
It's kind of interesting. I wonder if anybody's noticed that. I'm sure somebody has. It's probably a common thing or a commonly known thing. But anyway, so you're right. It's got all those things going for it. And the laundry chute scene is a genuinely tense scene. It's a really good scene. Yep. Absolutely. So there are some little things in a vacuum that I can find, that I like. Yeah, for sure. Riker H sends in $5, says, why did Blumhouse trash Black Christmas instead of doing a franchise like Halloween 2018? Was Black Christmas just easy to get their grubby hands on? Well, I don't know. I don't know the story of why they decided to do Black Christmas. Obviously, they got the rights to the IP. I've always speculated that Jason Blum needed a win in the female director department. I have no evidence of this. This has just been my speculation about, I don't know, within the last 6 months or to a year prior to them going to camera on that film, there was an article that was released about, and I didn't think he needed to apologize at all, but it was one of these typical Hollywood cancel things where Blum had made statements about how there's not a lot of female horror directors. He's right. There aren't. He's not wrong, and he mentioned I'm paraphrasing, but he mentioned something about wanting to reach out, but they don't show interest or something. Yeah, it was a big, I think it was in Variety or the Hollywood Reporter or something. Well, of course, he got lit up like a Christmas tree. Well, what do you mean? All this stuff, right? All this unnecessary stuff. There's no nuance. What he said was not inappropriate. What he said was not wrong. I didn't think he was being rude at all. Yeah, I didn't think he was being rude at all. But so then,
I mean by he pandered by, that's why he made Black Christmas.
Well, that's my speculation. So I think what ended up happening is that because not long after, like within the next 6 to 8 months or whatever it was, don't quote me on that exact thing, but it was something like that. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, Blumhouse announces that not only have they obtained the rights to to Black Christmas, but they are going to camera on Black Christmas like a month after the announcement, and that they've hired Sophia Takal and April Wolf to write the movie, 2 women. That's awesome. Nothing wrong with that. They've hired Sophia Takal to direct the film, a woman. That's awesome. Nothing wrong with that. Very little theatrically or feature film experience, but she does have some experience. Okay, that's cool. And they're going to do Black Christmas. They're shooting in New Zealand, and it's coming to theaters everywhere this Christmas, which was like 5 months after this announcement. And it was like, what? Where did this come from? And it was on the heels of me announcing It's Me, Billy. And I was like, God damn it. But anyway, so I suspect that this was a part of Damage Control. Oh, look, we've hired a female director. I'm not saying that there wasn't, again, I'm not saying these women aren't talented and they weren't deserving of the opportunity. No, that's not what I'm saying.
But I remember when cancel culture, even though we know that Blum, we know what Blum was saying wasn't meant to be,
it wasn't
to be malice or to be, he was stating a fact of what, the industry was like. And then cancel culture came after him. And basically he shut cancel culture up by giving.
Well, he first had to apologize, and then exactly.
And then gave the go ahead for Black Christmas. And that's why we got that.
That's why that's my speculation. That's Tony's speculation based on, admittedly, circumstantial evidence, right? It's never come out. But you look at also the story of Black Christmas 2019 and what the story was to that movie. And it's kind of like, whoa, like this is so on the nose here. It's crazy, and if you like that movie, that's great. That's great. All the power to you. But it came out of nowhere, and it felt very synthetically created and shoehorned in. It did not feel organic in the slightest. And, it was what it was. So those are my thoughts on that. But again, just like I don't know for sure, just speculating. But I was disappointed when Jason Blum apologized, although I understood why. When you're in that position at that level with that much power, I get it. But I just was like, oh, dude, like, come on. Anybody with some common sense knows what you're saying, Anyway. Andrew Jones sends in $20. Thank you, Andrew. Really appreciate that. Says, hey guys, unfortunately, I don't think they can ever make Michael scary again. You may be right. With Michael, I don't think the supernatural idea is the way to go. They have turned him into the Kool-Aid guy. Burst through wall. Oh yeah. Thank you for the, not really a question, but the statement. Dude, listen, I mean, there's a lot of truth in what you're saying, right? We are desensitized to a lot of this stuff now. So, Tony, how do you see it?
It's hard. It's not fair, but it's like Dave said, there's 13 Halloween movies, whatever.
Yeah, something like that.
We've seen it all. We're not in the heyday of the 80s anymore, where all this stuff was new and fresh and fun. Obviously a lot of we watch these movies now and they're fun to I threw it on the other day because it just it was just a vibe I was feeling. But watching not Halloween 5, Friday the 13th part 5, and you watch the kills in there and you're just like, God, these are so over the top. But it's fun, and it just, unfortunately, what are you going to do now that we haven't seen in a horror movie?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like how can you portray Michael, to be scary? You can't,
well,
the only way you can is like how I described, how he was portrayed in that opening scene of Halloween Kills with the firefighters, where he's more violent and vicious, but that's not necessarily scary. It's more brutal.
Yeah. But that, leads to your point and your idea from the What If episode we did a couple of weeks ago on what you and I would do, or an idea that we really like about telling the Halloween story again, but setting it in the 50s, making it that film noir sort of.
You can get a little scary with that.
Yes. Exactly. Because, I often say, people, as you know, I get a lot of Halloween questions, which is great. But people will often say, well, they want it to keep going. Okay. They want it to keep going. They don't want Halloween Ends to be the end. They want it to keep going. Okay. That's fine. But then some people think, well, if it does end, I hope they reboot it 3 years later or 5 years later. And I'm thinking to myself, well, and again, it's not that I'm a bigger fan than they are, or you're a bigger fan than me. as I often say, there are just different types of fans. And for me, and I think Tony's in the same boat here, but I don't want to speak for him, but I think, we're kind of in the same boat that, we're okay now. We've had the Halloween thing. It doesn't mean that if they don't make a great Halloween film again with Michael Myers, that we wouldn't be there. And if it's really good, we wouldn't acknowledge it's really good and really excited about it. But at the end of the day, for me, I couldn't care less if they made another Halloween movie ever again with Michael Myers after Halloween ends. I could not care less. And that doesn't mean that I'm not a Halloween fan. It just means they've exhausted the character. They've done everything that they can without, they have jumped the shark, a few times, but I have all these films, I have the really good ones, the really bad ones, and the ones in between, and there's conventions and t-shirts and masks and fan films and friends to talk about it with and all this, and the communities, and I don't need this to, I'm okay now. And sorry, I just want to finish by saying that I don't need them to reboot the story again. Unless you're going to tell it like we did a couple weeks ago, from a very different perspective, 50s. Set in the 50s, film noir. Loomis is a detective, not a psychiatrist. Michael is older. Judith is a lot, all this. And if you want to watch that, go watch that episode. We fucking nailed down something really cool. It was from a couple of weeks ago, because you're telling the story again. You're still keeping the Halloween DNA there, but you're injecting new life into it. I don't want to see Halloween rebooted in 2025 or even in 2028 for the 50th anniversary by just telling the same story again. You know what I mean? Yes. Just with different actors. I don't need to see that. I don't, that doesn't mean it wouldn't be great. Maybe it'd be great. But I'm okay. We've done this now. I'm okay. Maybe try it from a different perspective, Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, because the only Halloween movies that I watch consistently on a yearly basis are 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. I have to be in a mood to watch H2O, and I will. I haven't watched it in a couple of years, but it's a mood thing, and I will watch it. But I'm saying the consistent Halloween movies that I will always watch, 100% are the first 4, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah,
if I'm in a mood, I'll probably throw on Kills because I do enjoy Kills, but or I might do it's probably going to be several years, to be honest with you, before I watch 18 Kills and Ends again. Once Ends comes out, and I probably watch it once or twice, and I'm sure we'll probably do a live watch with it as well. That's pretty much going to be it. And then I'll just go back to my, because those are my go-tos. Those are my Halloween movies. Like you said, I agree with you. I've had my fill. I got what I need. I got what I need when it comes to Freddy and Jason as well too. So I would like to see those guys get their due during this run, but if they didn't, all right, I got,
that's a really good
movies there.
That's a really good point. I was just going to say that Freddy and Jason, it's interesting. Part of me wants to see them come back because they haven't had the rebirth treatment. They tried in 09 and 10, of course, but they haven't had, the
proper rebirth treatment.
Yeah. Now that we're in kind of
got that during that run too.
Right. Now that we're kind of in this zone where, maybe they're kind of doing things right. They got Halloween, Candyman, Scream, things like that. It would be interesting to see them do justice and do Freddy right, do Jason right, for sure. But I'm the same as you. If they never made another Freddy movie ever again, I'm okay. If they never made another Jason movie ever again, I'm okay. But I will say that I am more curious about seeing them come back than I am at all seeing them reboot Halloween again. Now, of course, there are those that say Michael Myers is never going to die. And you are, to a certain degree, you are correct. You are correct. What will kill Michael is inevitably the box office and a loss of interest. And
listen, man, evil will die tonight.
That's it. But I don't think it is a foregone conclusion that even if Halloween Ends does well, that you're going to see Halloween Begins again, 2 years later. I think there is going to be a gap. I think there is going to be maybe a substantial gap.
Halloween 50s thing that we were talking about.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. I think we will not.
No, I was just saying, you just said the 2 words that I actually like. Halloween Begins.
Oh, Halloween Begins again.
No, just Halloween Begins.
Halloween Begins. I think
that's stealing from Batman, but
I think you will see something in and around the 50th, but not necessarily a movie, not necessarily rebooting it. Maybe a restoration 8K or, a 50th anniversary convention. I mean, you'll see things like that. But it's, fans seem to think it's a foregone conclusion, but I don't necessarily think so. It's not that you will never see Michael again, but certainly, I hope there's just some breathing room now. I really do. And I say that as a big fan. But I fully acknowledge there are a lot of fans out there that don't care and that just want Michael, more Halloween movies. I always say they don't care if it's good. They just want more Halloween movies. They hope it's good. I mean, nobody wants a bad movie, but at the end of the day, they just want to see Michael tear shit up. And if they found out that Halloween was going to they were going to do another one with Andy Matichek and they'd be fully like, let's go, baby, let's do another one. And I'd be like, oh God, it's kind of like, how far could we milk this? But again, I don't know, maybe
Halloween, the rebirth.
Yeah, Halloween again. It's the same with Scream. Like the fact that they're doing it. I liked Scream 5. I thought it was fine.
I'm shocked that they're doing another one.
But it felt I'm not. It was a huge success. But it felt.
No, I know. But I just felt like this one that we just watched was so complete. Like it's like, we need to go again. Like,
well, it felt.
I guess we do.
Scream 5 was competently made. Felt like another Scream movie. That's what it felt like. It wasn't bad. I don't think it was as good as the original, of course, but it didn't need to be. It doesn't have to be. I think they did Wes proud. I think Wes would have been proud. I think they honored the legacy, and I think it felt definitely. You could have told me that Wes directed it, and I would have believed it. Like it's got his vibe all over it. I think they're going to take a big turn with Scream 6. I think they're going to want to inject their own stuff into it now. I really do. But I don't need this to go on. Like, fuck, how many people can dress up as Ghostface and, Jesus.
Hey, speaking of Scream, one of our faithful viewers that follows us too on Instagram, Brooke. She
Brooke Louie?
Brooke, I don't know her last name.
Oh, okay.
But she pops up in the chat from time to time. She met Nev Campbell. She shared the picture
over
the week. Yeah, she was like this close to her, and I'm like, fuck you, Brooke.
Yeah, I think there's a.
How dare you get next to my girl?
Is it MonsterCon or Monster Mania or something that's happening right now in Ohio? I think something like that.
I don't know. I hate the fact that I have such a phobia for crowds. I'll never get to experience that because I hate crowds.
Hey, Tony,
I can't do it. I can't be in a crowded room of people. I will freak the fuck out.
What we'll do is we'll plop you in a wheelchair. We'll inject you with some Ativan and like some.
Hey, just keep injecting it.
Keep injecting it.
At the moment I start to get coherent, I'm gonna be freaking out.
We'll inject you with some Ritalin, and we'll just keep you completely docile. And so just I'm sitting there. Yes. Yeah, exactly. You'll
That's
have
my photo with Nev.
That's right. Or I'll carry you.
I look like Timmy from South Park.
I'll carry you in. All right.
That's all I'm saying.
Let's see here.
That'd be hilarious.
Oh, it'd be so bad. HT, also known as Dominic St. Clair, I think I got it right this time, sent in $5 and says, I noticed that you have more viewers when you're a Halloween episode. You were right. Oh, right. Yeah. I get, because yes. Oh yeah. Whenever we talk Halloween, whether I'm doing it solo or I'm doing it here with Tony, we always get a lot of viewers that tune in for sure.
We're just going to put Halloween in the title from now on. And
everything's Halloween now. Yeah. Everything's Halloween. Happy Sanjo sends in $5, says, thoughts on the Shudder app. You guys seen any of their exclusive movies? I found a few good ones. Any suggestions? I don't watch Shudder, to be honest with you.
I don't have Shudder. I don't have it.
I keep forgetting about that one.
I know. My apps are what do I have? I have Netflix. I have Hulu because I got Spotify, and Spotify offers Hulu through their premium service.
Nice.
And my AT&T, my cell phone provider, gives me HBO Max for free.
Oh, lucky.
So it's So so technically I get Hulu because my Spotify is only $10 a month, and I get Hulu with that. So I'm basically getting Hulu for free, and I'm getting HBO Max for free through my cell phone
Lucky.
service. So really, the only one that I am paying for is Netflix, and I got the grandfather Netflix plan, which I'm paying like $6.99 a month or whatever it is, $7.99, something like that.
The only streaming that I have is obviously Netflix. I have Netflix. I have Disney Plus, and I have Amazon Prime. And I have Plus. Really, I got it for The Mandalorian, and then I kept it for The Mandalorian season 2, but then I only watched the first 2 episodes of Mandalorian season 2. I know what happens. I know all about it. I just lost interest. And then I still have it because of Murders in the Building with Steve Martin and Martin Short and Selena Gomez, which was a hilarious show. And it got approved for season 2, which my girlfriend and I are very excited about. So I watched that, and that's on Disney Plus. So that's why I kept it. And there's a couple of movies on there we've watched before. Like we watched Turning Red, the animated film, which was really cute, which was only available on Disney Plus. So I've kept it because of that, but it's not one that I go to very often. Usually my girlfriend and I are switching between Amazon Prime and Netflix. Of course, we don't get HBO Max here in Canada, and we don't get Hulu here in Canada. I think we do get Paramount Plus, though. I just haven't signed up for it. I'm just like, fuck, another one? Jesus. Right.
Yeah, well, like I did whatchamacallit. I did the Peacock for like a month.
Oh yeah, well, that's how.
Well, when Halloween Kills came out, I did it for that month, and then I got rid of it. And I'm gonna do the same thing, in May when Obi-Wan comes out. I'm gonna cave in and fucking buy the devil and get Disney Plus and the devil. Watch it, and then once I'm done, I'm gonna cancel it.
maybe it's Brooke Scarlett in the chat. She says Nev is awesome. She was the sweetest. Oh, okay.
It's Brooke.
Very cool. Very cool, Brooke.
So she follows on one of my real estate estate photos account, and I saw her standing next to. I'm like, that's fucking Nev Campbell. What the fuck?
That's Neve Campbell. No,
that's my girl. That's my woman. Nev. What the fuck? That's
it. Sweet Tea. The tea is sweet tonight. Thank you, Sweet Tea, for sending that in. Sends in $10. Says, for the channel, my friends, please be safe too. You as well, Sweet Tea. Thank you so much for sending that in. Very kind of you.
Me and her were having a chat earlier this afternoon about the slap heard around the world.
Oh, yes. The slap heard around the world. I'm surprised there hasn't been a question about that. Probably because I uploaded a video very quickly, so people have already watched my thoughts, I bet.
You jumped on that like...
Yeah, I jumped on that like can we say fat kid on a Smartie, or is that not? I don't know. I don't know if we can say that anymore. Matthew Ferresi, I just did. Matthew Ferresi sends in $4.99 and says, just please don't let them explain his motivations. Any attempt to do so by the character should end in failure. The shape must remain an enigma. You're speaking my language, man. You're speaking my language. I agree. I think it's important, and I've always said this, that I'm okay with seeing the characters, whether it's in the Halloween and we've seen Kills now, and I guess we did get a bit of this in Kills. I'm okay with seeing characters questioning what Michael is, or is he there? Is he not there? I'm okay because people would do that, right? And I'm okay with characters thinking that maybe they're on the cusp of finally figuring it all out, what he is or why all that, but I'm in agreement with you. I've always said that we should never know. We should never know. Ever, 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 ever. Because it's the mystique. It's the unknown factor that makes him very appealing and why it works. I don't think if we knew his backstory, he would be nearly as appealing. I really don't. It might be the only thing he has over Freddy and Jason, to be honest with you.
For sure.
So we have to, I'm not saying that, again, I'm, just speaking hypothetically. I really don't know. I haven't analyzed it to that degree. Dream77 sends in $10, says, D&T, what do you guys think of The Batman? I just saw it recently, and I liked it over Nolan's films. Your thoughts? Well, I haven't seen it yet.
I fucking loved it.
Tony loved it.
It's definitely my favorite Batman. I've seen it twice now.
Nice.
Yeah, I can't wait to discuss it with Dave, obviously. So I'm being reserved on what I say, but it's definitely my favorite Batman movie, for sure. Pattinson, he's like number 2 as far as when it comes to like ranking Batmans.
Yeah.
There's always just going to be that special love for Michael Keaton, you know, like Christopher Reeve with Superman, same way. There's just it's hard to break that tie. I think if I were to look at it objectively, I would say Pattinson did a better performance.
Right.
You know, as far as because there's a lot of things that they did that if you're a Batman fan. If I mean, like, I'm talking like if you're a fan of a lot of the animated stuff, the comic stuff, the vibes, you know, I mean, you can compare it to Seven and compare it to, you know, all these, you know, thriller type movies, but there's a lot of stuff in there for Batman fans. Like, you know, if you're a fan of The Long Halloween, which is one of my favorite animated 2-part movie, there's a lot of that vibe in this movie that they did. Obviously Batman Year One. There's some stuff that are very similar to the animated that they did, and or even the comics and that they put in this movie, even though this is technically set in Year Two. But there's some Year One vibes to it. It just, you know, I hear what you're saying with regard to the Nolan movies. You know, look, the Nolan movies were great. You know, I think the third one falls a little bit flat, you know, but they were great for what they did, putting Batman in the realistic world that Christopher Nolan created. Everyone was well cast. Even though I'm not a big Anne Hathaway fan, I thought she was fine as Catwoman. You know what I mean? And I think she fit the part. I know the girl who plays Catwoman now said Nolan denied her or something because of her skin color back in the day or some shit.
Really? She said that?
She said something along those lines, and I'm just like, come on, don't go there, girl. You're in a very good movie right now. You're getting praised for your performance as Catwoman. Don't throw shade towards Christopher Nolan's, movie because of something that happened 10 years ago. Like, don't do that. Enjoy your moment. That's
it could have been nothing more that, we have to keep in mind too, that it depends what the vision is. Not everything, I don't want to
plus she would have been only 23 at the time, and it wouldn't, there's no way it would have made sense for her, because you needed someone with a bit of maturity to play off of Christian Bale's character at that time in the movie, and Hathaway was the perfect part for it.
I understand that.
Zoe Kravitz fits this timeline with Robert Pattinson in this world because their ages. I think they're only a few years apart in reality. And even though she's in her early 30s, she looks like she's still in her 20s. You know what I mean?
I got you. Yep.
I'm very much looking forward to finally being able to talk about this movie with Dave. Oliver, I have seen the Joker deleted scene that's shown up now on YouTube, and fucking loved it. That's straight out of fucking The Long Halloween. If you're a fan of The Long Halloween and you saw that Joker scene that was deleted from the movie but was uploaded on the internet, I mean, that's just like, I watched that, I'm like, oh dude, this is so good. And the guy, I don't know who that actor is. Like, I've never heard of him until just that moment, and I was just like, I love the fact that it's not Joaquin, and not that I love Joaquin as a Joker. It's not trying to duplicate Heath Ledger. This guy did the Joker in such a creepy way that I'm like, I want to see more of it, but I don't want to see more of it right away. Like, I can hold, if they're going to do 3 films, I wouldn't mind seeing his version of the Joker come in at the end as the finale and the crescendo. Right. But yeah, go see that fucking movie so we can talk about it.
Yeah, I do have to see it.
Come on, Dave.
I definitely have to see it. Great thoughts. HT, also known as Dominic St. Clair, sends in $5, says, I have a theory for It's Me, Billy. I feel like
Dave is the killer. I agree with that theory.
I feel like I'm sorry. Do you mean Agnes? Agnes. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Okay. Sorry. I just had to get my bearings here. I believe what you're saying is I have a theory for It's Me, Billy. I feel like Agnes is not the same Agnes, I think is what he means, that Billy talks about on the phone calls. She is probably Billy's sister.
Yeah. Okay. You're right. Yep.
Well, I'm not sure what you're, okay. So, I have a theory for It's Me, Billy. I feel like Agnes is not the same Agnes that Billy talks about on the phone. I see what you're saying. So you think that the character reveal the reveal that we had in It's Me, Billy as this woman as Agnes isn't the Billy's same Agnes that Billy talks about on the phone.
Well, don't give away too much because I know you're working on a sequel.
Well, no, we're not. It's not. It's very. It's not like. I don't know how to answer this because it. I will say this that that's not true. So but keep in mind that yeah, I don't know how to say it because, and me hesitating is not confirming his theory. I'm just trying to figure out, because, it's a complex sort of discussion because there's a lot of turning wheels, and I want to make sure I don't inadvertently give something else away by sort of explaining, the thing. So I think the best thing for me to do, because there's a lot of turning parts and wheels, and there's a lot of complexities to the relationship that we're building between these two characters, I will probably plead the fifth at the moment. That's not me confirming that you're correct. That's just me. I'm trying to avoid accidentally saying something else. But that's interesting. I like that you're thinking that deeply, though. I like that you're thinking that deeply. That's really cool. That's really cool that you're thinking that deeply. That's awesome. I will neither confirm nor deny at the moment. Riker H sends in $2 and says, what if The Green Mile or Shawshank got a remake? Oh, it'd be blasphemous. It'd be unnecessary. Why? Well, it'd be totally unnecessary. They're built around strong stories and characters, and it's just unnecessary to remake those films.
Agreed.
Yeah,
I wouldn't.
Andrew Jones sends in $2, says, sorry, gentlemen. What I meant from my earlier statement was what was scary about Michael was the looking through windows, planning his night, what a real life killer would do. Oh, for sure. It's not impossible to create that kind of a Halloween movie again. They just haven't done it. They've modernized it, taken him out of the shadows because they feel that what's the point of keeping him in the shadows? Everybody knows what he looks like. So we need to modernize it, pick up the pacing, pick up the intensity, and that's, I get it. I totally understand it. But I would love to see but doing the noir film that Tony and I have talked about, that's where you can go back to that.
Awesome.
It'd be fucking great. It'd be really good. I'd be totally into that.
Agreed.
And then one more here. We got Movie Chat and More Part 2 says, Will was a disgrace. A disgrace, he says. Will was a disgrace.
Will was a sip. I honestly didn't even know until Dave did his video. That's how out of touch I am with this shit and have absolutely zero care for the Academy Awards. Whatever, like fucking a grown-ass man slapping another grown-ass man. What the fuck?
Well, I mean, like I said,
at an award show for millionaires who receive a piece of tin with their name engraved on it. Okay, you can't take a joke.
Well, I know. And like I said in the video, it's the joke, first of all. People want to go, oh, she's got a medical, condition. And yes, I understand that. That's, for sure. I'm not, what I'm about to say is I'm not trying to devalue anybody's feelings. If those were really Will Smith's feelings, those are really his feelings. If Jada Pinkett Smith rolling her eyes, she really felt, kind of offended. Those are her feelings. They're real to her. And, whatever it's fine. But at the end of the day, Chris Rock saying, hey, G.I. Jane 2, whatever, is one of the tamest fucking jokes. Insults of everything. Do you know what he could have said? Do you know what Chris Rock could have said? And if it was somebody else,
the only time your wife gets her name in the paper is when she does something controversial.
Well, no, you see, he could
have said that.
He could have said that.
That's the truth.
He could have said that, or he could have said something like, when he's going, leave my wife's name out of your fucking mouth. When he's saying that, and he says it a couple of times, right? Chris Rock could have, and maybe he wanted to. Because he's that kind of guy. He could, because it's known. If you don't know this, you will now. A few years ago, I don't know how many years ago now, Jada Pinkett Smith cheated on Will. She's and I think they have like an open marriage or whatever the case is, but I think it's because of all that and whatever. Chris Rock could have said something like, hey, listen, okay, so you want me to leave your wife's name out of my mouth, but you know, is it all right? Can other
he
men
gone there
like
with
he could have gone there with mouth and wife and men.
Absolutely,
and he could have gone there. He could have gone there like it's no, and he didn't. He didn't. Because I genuinely think he was kind of a bit rattled, like, what the fuck's going on here?
I'm gonna give credit where credit is due. Will Smith punches or slaps like a bitch because Chris Rock took that and laughed it off.
He did.
I mean, talk about like laughing it off and composing himself. Like
he did. He did.
I mean, like
he did.
That's probably more of the bigger insult than the slap itself. Is that you went up to defend your woman's honor like the simp that you are, because 2 seconds before that you were laughing.
Yeah.
And then Jada rolls her eyes like the queen bitch that she is. All right. Then you got to go up there and be Mr. Tough Guy, and I'm going to slap it. And then the dude just basically looked at you and laughed. Bro, you a bitch. Well, you are a bitch with a capital B.
Tony has spoken, ladies and gentlemen. But here's the thing too, right? So, okay, this is what I don't understand. You know, I mean, the sense of entitlement, you know, and elitism. And again, I don't know what's going on in their life. I'm not making excuses for it. I'm just saying, I don't know what's going on, what headspace he was in, but he appeared to be laughing at the joke. And then he
totally was.
And then he looked over at his wife and thought, oh, fuck, I'm going to be on the couch tonight. I better go up there and act, you know, and slap him. Like, I mean, listen, if you wanted to defend your wife, because everybody's talking about he did the right thing, showing that he defended his wife. Listen, like I said in my video, do you know what he could have done? Do you know what he could have done? And I'm not saying that this was the right thing to do either, okay? But do you know what he could have done? And it still would have had the same effect. He could have yelled from his seat, not gone up there and slapped him. He could have done everything he did when he got back to his chair, which was maybe even stand up, advance towards the stage, look up at him and say, leave my wife's name out of your fucking mouth. And you know what would have caused people to stop? The fucking part. The fact that he dropped
Will is dropping the F-bomb
on international television during the Oscars, and then he says it again. I said, leave my wife's name out of your fucking.
I agree.
And
that
then
would have been more impactful.
It would have still had the same effect. If you're so worried about what you look like in front of your wife, and you don't look like you're coming to your wife's aid, you could have done. I don't agree with that. I still think it's like, buddy, read the room. Okay, you're on international television. You're in a room full of your peers. Take it down a notch. Calm the fuck down. Okay. Like, you know, listen, you could have just leaned over to, you know, Jada and said, like, don't worry, baby. You know, you're beautiful. I got this. Don't worry. I got this. Reassured her, right? Come to her aid, reassured her, you know, let her know, you know, everything's okay. Don't worry about it. You know, and then when all said and done, handle it like a man, walk up to him backstage afterwards, whatever the case is. Hey, Chris, can I talk to you for a second here? You come here for a minute. Like, dude, you know, don't fucking do that shit, man. Like, I really appreciate it. Do that kind of thing, whatever. I don't think Chris is going to go, well, I don't fucking care. Well, he's probably not. He's probably going to talk to you. There's going to be a conversation, whatever the case is. But if you, as I said in my video, if you really felt compelled, you know, there was this urge and I have to act or my wife's going to be pissed off all night, well, then just stand up, advance towards the stage and yell and scream and then sit down. You don't have to go up there and slap him, like literally assault him, you know, and it's
not even like the bad part of it isn't the fact that he slapped him. The bad part on Will is the fact that you go, like I said, you go up there to defend your wife and honor. I mean, come on, Chris Rock is not exactly a big threatening dude.
No, and it's G.I. Jane.
But he earned my respect in the fact that he basically took that slap and was like, all right, dude, whatever. And like brushed it off. And I'm like, dude, Will, you got to feel this fucking big right now that Chris fucking Rock laughed your fucking slap
Chris
off
Rock
like
has got rocks for balls.
Dude, that dude's got fucking balls.
But here's the thing too, right? So, you know, like and that's why initially, and I think we all did, we thought it was a stunt because on my social media, on Twitter, I said,
at first, I agree. I thought it was
at
fake.
first. Well, yeah, because, you know, I said, here you have an actor walking up to another actor. I know he's a comedian, but he's an actor too. Here you have an actor walking up to another actor in a room full of actors, okay, on acting's biggest night of the year, okay, during an award show that is all about celebrating make-believe, and that award show is suffering in the ratings. So I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, this can't be real. Like who has so much lack of objective awareness that, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to stand up. I'm nominated for Best Actor tonight. And I'm going to stand up and I'm going to walk on stage. I'm going to slap that man right there. That's what I'm going to do. Like, I memean, in a room full of thousands of your peers on one of the biggest stages in the world for movies. Like I just, and then of course he gets up and he accepts his award and he's crying. And he's like, I'm all about love. And the hypocrisy and the irony is ridiculous. I'm sorry, dude. Listen, I get people get emotional, but at the end of the day.
Well, you know what the other thing is too?
What are you doing?
Definitely prior to him doing it, the only reason why Will did it, I think, initially is because Will is a bigger guy than Chris Rock.
He is. So he's like 6'3" or whatever he is.
He took the bully mentality of like, this scrawny little dude is going to talk shit about my wife. So I'm going to, and then it blew up in his face and backfired because here's why. If it were Joe Rogan saying the joke, Will Smith wouldn't fucking go up there because Rogan would fucking wreck him. Rogan would break his fucking jaw. Rogan would drop him like fucking, I dropped fucking French in high school. Okay.
It's true.
Like,
and I dropped it too.
No, for real. Like that just showed to me Will Smith is a fucking bitch because I know full well if it was a different adversary doing that type of a joke, like someone like in the Joe Rogan, who's obviously, we all know, I mean, he's not just into fitness, but he's trained in martial arts.
Oh, sure. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I mean, he went up there thinking that it's Chris Rock, the scrawny little dude. I'm going to slap him and show him I'm the man. And when Rock turned around and was just like, and when he brushed it off, I don't know if he was prepared for that type of response because I've seen more people dissing Smith, not because of him doing that, but because you couldn't even make Chris Rock flinch. You know what I mean? Like that right there, like your ego's got to be fucking devastated at that point.
I don't think I agree with what you're saying. He's
got an ego. They all got egos.
Oh, no, they do. I was going to say, I don't think his ego is hurt because at the end of the day, the reason why he did it, at least what it looks like, it's not because he wanted to do it. He's scared of his wife. And
oh yeah, she's got him by the cojones, 100%. And he could never divorce that woman.
Do you want to know what's disrespecting? So she sleeps with somebody else, and like, come on, dude, you're in no position to talk about, respect and defending your family, and this kind of stuff. I mean, Chris Rock made a joke.
The money.
Chris Rock made a tame joke. A tame joke. You be thankful it wasn't Ricky Gervais up there. Okay, because Ricky Gervais has said far worse things.
Absolutely.
Far worse things. You know what I mean? And, if it was anybody else, Jesus, if it was me, I would have been handcuffed, thrown in the fucking back, and taken to prison that night. Like it's just so, and the people coming to his standing ovation.
With Jada, I mean, come on, when it comes to their wealth, he brings pretty much all of it to the table. She's not bringing anything. I mean, what? She's in the Matrix. You think that her Matrix royalties are bringing that type of money? I'm not saying that she's broke, but I'm saying when it comes to the overall wealth of the Smith family, it is predominantly him.
Well, sure.
And if he were to divorce her, he's going to lose it. And she's the type of woman I know for a fact, just because of her personality and like that stupid fucking round table that she put Snoop through. And I'd seriously like to look at Snoop and like, bro, get your fucking manhood back. Seriously. Like what the fuck? But just knowing that she would drain Will Smith dry. And I feel like this dude is trapped. And I think there's a combination of why he said what he said. Well, I don't think he did it. Well, yeah, that's why you do it. That's why you do it.
That's what I said. Prenup.
You know what I mean? You protect you. And I don't think he did. And I think she's the type of snake that will totally drain him, make his life fucking miserable. Like you said, she's out there. Now, Do we know Will's doing the same thing with, as far as, sleeping with other women?
Well, I think their relationship's supposed to be open, isn't it?
That's what they say. There's two ways to look, and I'm not hating. If that's how you live, that's how you live. That's
whatever. You're adults. Do whatever the fuck you want.
Adults. Exactly.
If you're not hurting children, then I'm okay.
No, exactly. So I can't say you can't totally just say Jada is doing it herself, because I gotta believe. I mean, then again, I could be fucking wrong, but I gotta think if she's doing it, then he has to. Because if he's not, and it's just her, bro, you've lost your man card at that point. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're really, I'm just saying, if he's not able to do the same thing in this open relationship, and it's just her. Yeah. Dude. Yeah.
Well, yeah. And I'm just,
your man card is gone.
It's just, it's no surprise, of course, social media, Twitter was a typical, the toxic cesspool dumpster fire that it usually always is. And it just amazes me that there are people that are like, yes, I agree with Will. He had every right to do that. And it's like, no, he didn't.
I get the honoring of your wife, but come on, that's the joke that's going to set you off, bro.
But it's the rules are rules. And listen, we can have the debate about, it's celebrities and different. I get all that. I understand that. But when we talk about the principle, and we talk about regular people chiming in, how do you justify that action? Chris Rock didn't attack him. Chris Rock didn't run off the stage and hit Jada.
Talk about G.I. Jane.
Chris Rock, that was not a self-defense move. There was nothing. That was an unprovoked attack. It's a joke, and a tame fucking joke at that. You know what I mean? But she has a medical condition. So what? Did
she have a medical condition when she was preaching about boycotting the Oscars a few years ago?
Did she have a medical condition when she decided to bang somebody else? I mean, come on.
Don't hide under that facade of she's got a
and that doesn't mean that it's not difficult for her. Of course, for a woman losing her hair, I get it. It's much worse for a woman than a man.
I lost my hair years ago.
No, but I'm saying
it's done. It's over.
I'm saying for a woman,
she looks good as a bald woman.
She does. But I'm saying for a woman, of course, it's worse. It's worse for a woman than it is a man. I understand that. But as I always say, and I said in my video today, one of the truths that people have to learn is two things can be true at the same time. And I know it's difficult for people to, get on board with that, because it can be uncomfortable, because it makes you feel like you're disrespecting something. Like Kevin Spacey is a hell of an actor and a piece of shit. Both things can be true at the same time, right? So, yes, was Chris Rock, again, his joke was tame, but you could say, okay, yeah, it was a distasteful joke. Okay, maybe, but we can also say that Will Smith legally is not allowed to do what he did, and morally,
legally, Chris Rock could, have him arrested.
He's not going to, but no, you're right. But it's amazing to me watching people say, yes, he had a right to do that. Really? There's such a disconnect between reality and Hollywood, right? There's such a disconnect with normal people and no, that made sense. That made total sense. Hey, Jada, love you. Can't wait to see you in G.I. Jane 2. That is literally verbatim what he said. Hey, Jada, something like, looking good or something. Love you. Can't wait to see you in G.I. Jane 2. Oh, you fucking goddamn motherfucker. Keep my wife. Like, what the fuck? Did you are you having diarrhea or something? Is there something else going on in your life? Because the crime doesn't fit the, the punishment. What's going on here, dude? And I get it. I get that. Yes, there's a history there. I get that he's talked. I get all that. I get it. But you know what? You're never going to convince me that was an absolutely appropriate response to that joke. It's can you imagine if that was Dave Chappelle? Can you imagine if that was Chappelle?
Forget it.
Can you imagine how fucking roasted Will Smith would have been? They would have had to call in the police. Will Smith probably would have been so angry he would have shot back up onto the stage and attacked Chappelle. And then there would have been a whole fight that would have broken out. Are you kidding me?
And look, I don't care about these award shows. This is the first time that I've watched anything award related since DiCaprio gave his speech for winning Revenant. Because I don't care. I'm just whatever. I think these award shows are stupid. But instead of sitting here talking about the fact that Will Smith just won his first Oscar, we're talking about the incident.
Bang on. That's what I said in the video this morning.
Like instead of like, dude, you won an Academy Award, bro. Congratulations, man. What are we talking about? We're talking about the stupid stunt that, that he pulled. And that's what will forever be linked. For he may never get this opportunity again to win. He may
never be nominated again.
No. And the one and only time you're nominated, well, he's been nominated a couple times, but the one and only time that you win, you're going to be linked to this thing forever.
Yep.
You can apologize to your blue in the fucking face. You're a grown ass man, bro.
Yep. And
like Dave said, you could have said something from the seats, got your point across, said, bro, don't say shit about my fucking wife and be serious about it.
Yeah.
And move on. But you go up there and you slap another grown man and the dude basically looks at you and laughs. That's your Oscar legacy forever. It's not the fact that you won. It's the fact that you did that stupid stunt.
I could not agree more. And it's so disappointing because Will Smith is a tremendous actor. He is a terrific actor. He is a terrific talent. He's been in some terrific movies. He's been in some stinkers, but haven't they all? That's just the nature of the business.
The nature of the beast.
But he is a terrific actor who's wanted this moment for so long. He's been nominated a couple of times. There's been a few films where, there's a
Ali, I think he was nominated.
He was nominated for Ali, and he was nominated for The Pursuit of Happiness, I believe. And he didn't win. I don't know if he's been nominated after that, but certainly there have been a couple of films that he's done where he hasn't been nominated, where people thought he should have been nominated, including himself and his wife. And that's, so I mean, he's wanted this for arguably 2.5 decades. He's wanted this for probably since he was 20 something years old. Yeah. He has wanted this, and he's one of those actors that is like, before DiCaprio got his for The Revenant, he's up there. Like, I'm not saying he's as good. I'm saying that Will Smith is one of those actors where you're like, oh, he doesn't have an Academy Award. Like, he's one of those actors, right? So he's wanted this for so long, and he gets nominated for King Richard. Okay, here we are again. Is it going to happen? I mean, listen, I'm not comparing my little thing to the Oscars, but I've been nominated for 4 Voice Arts Awards. I haven't won yet, right? That's a Hollywood award show. It's a Hollywood award. And I'm very proud of that. And I haven't won yet. I wasn't able to go my second time, but I've been to the award show 3 times. And there I am, and I haven't won yet. So, I can only imagine if I ever get nominated again for a 5th time, and I have to go back to Hollywood and walk the red carpet and everything like that. It's like, oh, God, here I am again. You don't want to ruin that moment, right? You don't want anything to happen that's going to ruin that moment of you finally getting up on stage and receiving the award, right? And so here he is, nominated again. All he had to do, was reassure, because it's all about reassuring his wife. I mean, Jada Pickett, or I don't know if she's Jada Pickett anymore, but Jada Smith, okay, she can't possibly have, condoned that. I mean, at the end of the day, I would like to think that as long as the woman feels acknowledged by the most important person in the room, which is her husband, and he turns to her, even privately, during a commercial break or even in that moment, he goes on with his monologue, he leans over, like I said, and says, don't worry, baby, I love you, takes her hand, maybe goes and sits beside her, because they weren't quite sitting beside each other. Maybe he moves a bit closer to her, right? Reassures her, makes her feel acknowledged that it's okay. If she really is feeling offended, because maybe those feelings are true to her. It doesn't matter if I agree with it or not. If she really is feeling offended, she's allowed to feel that way. He can go over, reassure her, acknowledge her, tell her you love her. That's what it's about, right? That's what he needed to do. 100%. That's where his focus should have been. Walking up there and slapping a guy who's probably my height and 110 pounds. I mean, what the fuck are you doing? You can't tell me that. Did she really sit?
It's the bully mentality. He thought
100%.
Being a bigger guy, he could have, slapped this guy, and he probably thought it would have 100%. Shook Rock enough to but Rock just basically the fact 100%. That he laughed it off is that's my favorite part.
100%.
Dude. And we just said, it tarnishes his legacy forever. No one is going to remember. I mean, yes,
No.
they'll remember that he won, but they're going to remember what he did.
Exactly. Exactly.
And
That's a shame because he finally won. And then his speech is just one of the most awkward fucking things I've ever heard in my life. Now, if you didn't know about the slap, it's one of the most moving speeches that I've watched. There he is crying and he's up there and he's really excited. But knowing what has just happened and comparing himself to using the analogy of King Richard, and he's just, defending his family. Get the fuck out of here. Stop that nonsense. What you did was not defending your family. What you did was embarrassing the entire institution for what you're standing at. I mean, gee, what are you doing? And everybody's standing ovation like the fucking, oblivious boneheads they are. And it's like, come on, man. It's such a, it's make-believe. Yeah, that's for sure. Let's honor make-believe tonight. It's so disappointing because, it's just so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Anyway, those are our thoughts on that. And we'll see. And do I think Chris Rock is going to stop now because of Will Smith? No. And nor should he.
But I hope this doesn't, what I hope this doesn't do though, is open up the door for other people to do this.
That's what people have been saying, right? I hope not.
I
hope not.
I mean, because you can't. I mean, you've got to be able to take a joke. You know what I mean? You've got to be able to laugh at yourself and, whatever. I mean, lots of people have said shit about me on doing the stream with Dave. And it's just like,
look at all the email. Tony and I can tell you about messages we've gotten.
Right. I mean,
nasty messages.
If I were to sit there and worry about that shit, like I would never get anything accomplished. My business wouldn't be succeeding the way it is right now. You know what I mean? Like you can't focus on that stuff. It's just, you laugh it off and you move on with your fucking day. It's, it is what it is. And that's definitely a moment that, dude, I'd be looking at him like, so bro, you could have laughed it off and looked at Jada and be like, look, I'm going to have a talk with him afterwards. Let's enjoy the evening. We're here for this moment. Let's enjoy it. But no, you tarnished it.
Yeah.
And
it's so, as the kids say, extra. Like, it was like, Will, sit the fuck down. Sit down, you chump. Like, sit down. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, what are you doing? Shut up. Sit your ass back down. You take my wife. Shut up. Like, Jesus, man, it's so ridiculous. Like, stop it's overkill. It's overkill. You would literally have thought that Rock had said, hey, how you doing, you N-word? Or hey, what's going on, you ugly bitch? I mean, like, you literally would have thought he had said something ridiculous like that. And even then, that doesn't justify, attacking somebody. But it
doesn't. And and even if he does apologize to Chris Rock or does whatever, I'd be like, whatever, dude, fuck you. You're done. We're done. Like, there's no like, fine. Because Smith crossed that line. You know what I mean? Like you're a grown ass man. The difference between right and wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you just know you don't cross that line with someone. And once you cross that line, you can't go back. I mean, yeah, you can apologize, but like it's like if Dave and I lived close to each other and he said something and I turned around and hauled off and belted him. Yeah, I could apologize and be like, dude, I'm sorry and all that stuff, but it's never going to change the fact that I did that. Dave's always going to remember it.
Yeah.
He might go like, yeah, dude, Tony, I get it. You're sorry, but you did something that you as a grown ass man know you shouldn't be doing.
Can you imagine if, because you shave your head, so you're bald. It would be like Tony and I.
That's why I use the analogy because I'm bald.
Yeah, it'd be like comment. It'd be like Tony and I. We lived closer, so we linked up to hang out or whatever. And Tony just, for whatever reason, happened to be a day that he just freshly shaved his head, so it's all fresh. And I happened to say, I go, oh hey dude, what's going on? Hey, you kind of look like Mr. Clean today. Just some funny kind of thing, whatever.
Something stupid like that.
Something stupid like that. We're just joshing. We're just hanging out. We're just, and he turns around and he goes, what the fuck? And hauls off and clocks me in the face. It's like, what the hell are you doing?
Right.
Dude, it's not.
What's wrong? It's a joke.
I didn't call you a piece of shit. What? It's just a joke.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like, I guess, Frank shared a link where I guess Will Smith obviously put a public apology on his Instagram.
Oh, did he? Oh, okay.
It
So his
doesn't
publicist
matter.
put a public apology.
That's what I'm sure. His publicist put a public apology to, you gotta, try to calm the storm. It doesn't matter, dude. You did it. You can apologize to the blue in your face,
but hey, when it comes to celebrities, as long as there is an apology, all is forgiven. All is forgiven. Doesn't you can do so, well, it depends. It depends. I mean, of course, Harvey Weinstein would not be forgiven, but Harvey Weinstein.
On the plus side for Will Smith, that's his first hit since the 90s.
That's true. Oh, that's funny. That's good. That's good. Did you just make that up?
On the whim.
That's awesome. It's his first hit since the 90s. That's really good. That's funny. Okay, we got to get through these super chats. Fast Forwards 289 sends in 1999. Thank you, buddy. Says, what's up, D&T? Missed the first part of the show. I have to go back and watch it. Off topic, but I want to start getting into running on my nights off. So what goal should I start with and set for myself? Thanks. Well, first thing, and then I'll let Tony answer too, because I know he's a runner. I will say that first things first, kind of self-explanatory, but get yourself a really good pair of running shoes. So that's like Asics or, whatever, like a specific, and they're going to cost like $100 and something bucks. You know what I mean? But a really good light pair of running shoes. I tend to use Asics or, what's it? Sock. Something sock. I forget now. But anyways, you'll find them at like Foot Locker and things like that. Really nice light pair of running, specific jogging shoes, not sneakers, not basketball shoes, but shoes designed for running. Okay. You're going to notice a world of a difference. The second thing is just, if you've never run before or you haven't run in a long time, I would just go out and take it easy. Just kind of run and just, do maybe a couple laps around the block or, whatever. Just pace yourself. All about pacing yourself. I don't know what your experience level is. I mean, I can not run for 6 months and then go out and run a 5K. I'll struggle through it because I haven't ran 5K in 6 months, but I can do it because I've been running for 25 years. So I don't know where your experience level is, but I would just say pace yourself, take it easy, and work up to it. Work up to those kilometers or miles. Don't go all out at once. And consistency. You have to, if you're looking to get into it and really decide maybe, I don't know if you want to lose some weight or you just want to pick up your cardio or whatever it is, but it's consistency. You don't have to run 5 days a week, but you do have to be consistent with it. So that's important too. Because even if I take like a couple of weeks off, which I sometimes do, just to kind of, I don't know, I'm just going to take a couple of weeks off. I'm just kind of tired or whatever, or I'm taking a couple of weeks off over the holidays or whatever. As soon as I get back into it, I notice and I've been running a long time. I'm not like a marathoner or anything like that, but I have good cardio. And even if I take 2 weeks off and I go out to run, I feel it. I notice that I've taken 2 weeks off. So pace yourself and, relax and just try not to do too much. Tony?
Yeah, when I don't run anymore, most of my cardio conditioning is with kettlebells, sandbags, things like that. I've changed because when you and I first started the show, I was about 151 pounds, and now I'm 195.
Wow.
So I've definitely put on a lot of lean muscle mass.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get to about 210. So about another 15 pounds. And I think I'll be comfortable with that weight at my height. That should be good.
Right.
Cause it doesn't look it like even when people see me in person, like, dude, I can't believe you're almost 200 pounds. You don't look it. It's just cause I do a lot of lifting now. But when I ran,
if Tony takes off his shirt, he looks like The Rock.
No, not like that. Not even close. Believe it or not, 195 pound muscle is not like, it's not.
No, I'm just busting your balls.
Yeah. But when I was running, I the way I did it was I did it in intervals. So I would run for like a minute and a half, rest, until I could increase my time. I didn't just like go out there and just start, going for miles on end because you'll get discouraged because it's, that's 90% of the time people quit is because they set like unrealistic goals. Like I knew that I was going to put on this weight in this mass. And I knew that this was not going to be an overnight adventure. That this, like I said, I started doing this. I started to back off running a few years ago and just really focused on strongman strength training mixed in with hypertrophy training, mixed in with obviously maxing out training, compound movements and whatnot. But to get to 210 from 150, yeah, I could have ate fast food and got there, but then that would have been very unhealthy.
Right.
I knew it was a journey, and that's how you got to look at fitness. Don't look at it as it's an overnight thing and you're going to become successful, or you're going to look like you're on it. Because if you compare yourself to other people on the internet, and that's why I don't really follow too many fitness people. I follow mostly I follow Brian Shaw, strongman. I follow, there's a girl from your neck of the woods that I follow. She's a big hardcore fitness, Natasha something or whatever. I don't know.
I have no idea.
But she's deadlifting some fucking serious weight and mad, and she's, she does the bodybuilding women stuff, but she looks really good. I have to send you her link. She's very inspiring to watch her, and
that's cool.
But that's pretty much it. Because if you look at this, the models on YouTube and the people who are lean first, or guys who are seriously jacked, first of all, that's a
full-time job.
It's a full-time job, and you're going to have to do some form of steroids, which I would never recommend doing.
Oh, yeah. The Rock is on so much steroids. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Forget about it. So the only things that I do is I do creatine, which creatine is good for you. One, it's good for brain functionality. It's good for your heart. I do it in a low dose. I do about 3 grams of creatine a day, and that's it. It's very low. It's not a high dosage. I do protein powder. I do ECAAs while I'm working out. I drink an ECAA drink. It's not BCAA, so don't confuse it with that. And then this is my nighttime. I take a ZMA, which is vitamin B, magnesium, and zinc, and then a multivitamin, and that's it. I didn't want to, when I just made this conscious decision to go down this road of naturally putting on the weight and lifting. I totally could have cheated and taken the human growth hormones and stuff like that, but it's just, there's a consequence to it. I mean, it seems like every other week I'm hearing a bodybuilder in his 20s is dropping dead from a heart attack, and it's just, it's not worth the risk. And like you said with The Rock, I got a feeling that day is going to be coming sometime in the next 10 years.
Well, The Rock is starting to sound like this.
Yeah, and your heart can only take so much of that stuff. Putting into your body, it's just
the thing with The Rock is that he's one of the biggest superstars in the world, one of the big film stars in the world, and he's older. I mean, he's knocking on 50, and your body changes. I mean, he's not gonna. That doesn't mean there aren't ripped and jacked 60-year-olds, but eventually, as you get older, you lose bone mass, muscle mass. And he's the more shit he's going to have to take to compensate for it. So, the dude better be careful. Better be careful for sure. Okay. Akeem.
And just to say something here, because someone said in the chat room, American Turkey Burger right here from the health people in the virtual studies, vitro study suggests some improvement by creatine supplementation in the function even of healthy heart. So it's not like it once was back in the day, especially the type of creatine that they have out. And you have to understand it's not the creatine that's causing the heart condition. It's people who are also putting steroids with creatine or human growth hormones with creatine.
Right.
If you're just taking creatine itself, and by itself without any of these other things that these bodybuilders or athletes that were taking, then it's totally fine for you. And it's been proven actually to help people with, what's the brain, when not Alzheimer's, but dementia. Yeah. They put people on creatine who are dealing with dementia. But yes, the other thing too with creatine, if you're over abusing it and you're mixing it with other supplements like steroids and human growth, then you can't keep injecting all that stuff. But if you're using it for what it's designed for and you're keeping your body natural and organic like I do, then it's totally fine.
Good advice. Good thoughts. Akeem Patterson sends in $4.99, says Chris Rock and Will Smith's beef started long before Oscars. They never liked each other. Indeed. And that may be true. That may be true, but that does not give Will Smith, and I'm not suggesting that you're saying this, but it does not give Will Smith the legal right to walk up on stage and slap somebody in that environment. And so, I understand, I get it. I get if you're, I'm Team Will and I love Will Smith and he can do no wrong and he's just defending his, family. I get all that. But at the end of the day, the law is the law and rules are rules. And yes, I understand there's a lot of leeway between, celebrities and that kind of stuff. I get all that. But at the end of the day, he just walked up on stage and did that like he was allowed to do it. And sorry, it's just not the way it is. That's why there's a lot of people saying, you can't do that. You can't do that. It's wildly inappropriate. I don't give a frog's fat ass what he said. I don't care what he said. And I think we can all agree, what he said was pretty fucking tame, especially for Chris Rock. Okay. I'm not suggesting that you're saying that, but I'm just saying, but you are correct. Yes, they have had a beef for a while. Reese Wilson, $7.99 Australia dollars, says Chris Rock is performing in Australia in August. He's got a boatload of new material to add to his set. I've got my ticket booked. That's awesome.
I don't think he's gonna. Maybe he will, but I don't think he's gonna go there with it.
I'd love it if he did. It'd be great.
I mean, I would too. I would totally love it if he went there with it, but. I don't know. Chris Rock literally did the definition of turn the other cheek.
Yeah.
I mean, literally did the definition of that.
Yep.
So he's got my respect. That's for sure.
Edward Nito, $10. Thank you, buddy. Says, what if a different Rock made that joke, like The Rock himself? Well, Will Smith wouldn't have walked up there and did that.
No, he wouldn't have done it. If someone, like I said a little while ago, if Joe Rogan made the joke, if it was someone that posed a threat and Will could not challenge, absolutely not. He only did it from a bullying, and that's what pisses me off even more, is because he looked at Chris Rock and the size different and he thought well, I can go up there and show him what's up.
Yeah.
And then realized that you're a bitch because you can't slap for shit.
Do you know how funny it would have been if Chris Rock took it a different way? He suddenly was like, what the fuck, dude? And hauled off a haymaker on Will Smith's chin. He probably would have
knocked him out.
On Will Smith's chin. And he just happened to hit him in the right spot, and it knocked him out. And Will Smith is lying on the Oscar stage. That would have been great. Spread-eagled, unconscious. Can you imagine?
And Chris Rock stood over him and said, "Mama said knock you out."
That would have been fucking amazing. All right, last one. We got to get going. We've hit 3 hours here. This was a big show tonight. Fast forwards, 289 sends in $9.99. Follow-up says, I probably walk about 6 to 8 miles a night because of my job, but never really got into running, but want to lose a little more weight and improve my health overall. So thanks, guys. I appreciate the advice. Well, thank you very much, Fast Forwards. Really appreciate you supporting the channel and sending that in. That was a cool question, something we don't get asked very much. All right, that is going to do it. Big show tonight for episode 147. Hey, like I said, if you're watching after the fact and you made it this far, it's 3 hours, comment below and let Tony and I know your thoughts on what we talked about in regards to Rachel and Jamie returning. Sorry? I missed a super chat? I did? Oh, let me go back and see. Super chat I missed. Let me see here. Oh, yes. Movie chat and more. £5 says, I would have been like, you ain't no Ali, are you, Will? Hoping he would attack me and get the dude banned from the Oscars forever. Richard, I could see you doing that. And you probably would have been successful at it. But yeah, so comment below and let Tony and I know your thoughts on what we talked about today in regards to negating all the Halloween sequels after Halloween 4. Let us know your thoughts on some of the ideas and the discussions that Tony and I talked about here on the program, on the show today. We'd love to know your thoughts. Tony, any last things you want to say?
No, good show, lots of fun.
Yeah, good show, lots of fun. Thanks to our moderators, of course, Frank Riker, Tabitha Short, Darren Sands, Chris Baber. Really appreciate it. Thank you to all the super chat questions. Really appreciate that as well, folks. All right, we'll be back next week. In the meantime and in between time, cheers.